Chapter 1261. Here, not only did one have to rely on strength, they also had to rely on their brains. However, no one had the time to think about this problem. They were given too little time. A minute later, all of them were entangled, causing them to feel despair. Big brother. Yihang shouted out while looking at her big brother LV Tao, who was at the side. LV Liang felt a bit guilty. Xiaohong, big brother is useless. I've let down my sister-in-law. Don't say any more, big brother. This is my own decision. Being able to die together with big brother is already worth it. Just that, I didn't get the chance to apologize to Zishan. Yihang sighed softly. She knew that there was no hope of escaping in this situation. These toads were simply too abnormal. They were no match for them in the air. Tang Wei, Li Hun, Sun Fang, Still Yi and the others were all thinking about their own men. The first three either betrayed and kidnapped, and the one with broken bones directly turned into a gigantic dragon. However, they still chose to come over. Their courage was commendable. Yi Jueqian was also wrapped around fiercely, unable to move. His gaze carried a hint of a distorted expression, as if he was unwilling to die just like that. However, just as Yi Jueqian was struggling, the power in his body was gradually fading away. Yi Jueqian turned pale with fright. These prehistoric ferocious beasts are actually able to absorb the power of their prey, causing their prey to be unable to struggle or resist. Everyone felt their strength gradually draining away and their bodies became limp. However, their minds were still clear and they knew that they were doomed. Right now, Yi Jueqian didn't have any other choice, and the first thing that appeared in his mind was his mother. I can't be filial to my mother anymore, and there's still big brother. In the future, I'll have to rely on big brother to take care of my mother. Yi's figure also appeared. If it's possible, I really want to say, I'm sorry, in front of Yi. Finally there was Gong Yu. This woman had sacrificed too much for him. It was his responsibility to take care of her. However, from the looks of it now, I'm afraid that I won't be able to take care of Gong Yu in the future. I can only rely on big brother to take good care of Gong Yu in the future. Big brother shouldn't make things too difficult for Gong Yu. After all, Gong Yu is also my woman and I'm already dead. Looking at this, big brother won't be too excessive. At this moment, everyone was thinking about the person in their hearts. Only before death could they understand who the most important person in their hearts was, and what they regretted not doing. All of them. Meanwhile, Absolute Heaven, who had come down to monitor the situation, was currently quarreling with the pig liver hyena. The two of them quarreled almost every day. They were like two women. The whole palace was their battlefield. They were like shrews. However, just as everyone was waiting for death to descend, a terrifying aura attacked. It was a crescent-shaped silver saber chi. With this slash, hundreds of tongues were all severed. Everyone could feel that the prehistoric ferocious beasts below were letting out howls of grief, and with fear in their hearts, they ran away. The tongue on his body gradually loosened. What happened? Yihang asked blankly. I'm already prepared to die, yet you are telling me that I actually won't be able to die. This kind of feeling is truly hard to accept. It seems like someone saved us. Tang Wei muttered, thinking in her heart, could it be Wei Chang? Is it really him? It can't be his honor, right? LV Liang asked curiously. Other than his honor, who else could it be? Yi Jueqian felt that his big brother had come to save him. A black figure suddenly appeared in front of everyone. When the group of people saw this black figure, their eyes were filled with doubt. What was this? Oh. If it was his honor or anyone else, is there a need for them to act like this? It was obviously not needed. In that case, it must be someone else. Senior, you are? Yi Jueqian asked respectfully. To be able to get rid of those tongues in an instant, that person's strength was definitely above theirs, and furthermore, that person had even saved us. The black figure took off his mask and revealed an exquisite face. Although he wasn't very handsome, the feeling that he gave others was rather reliable and seemed to be trustworthy. Me? Who am I? I don't know either. The black figure said lightly, and a confused look could be seen on his face. Don't know who I am? Yi Jueqian and the others were filled with question marks. Big Brother had said before that in this plane, other than prehistoric ferocious beasts or divine beasts, there were basically no other living beings. For a person to suddenly appear in this plane, how could they not be shocked? You don't know what your name is? Tang Wei asked puzzledly. The black figure said faintly, although I don't know what my name is, you all can call me Guardian. Guardian? Everyone's jaws were about to drop onto the ground. Because recently Yi Zizi had also brought back a guardian, and the guardian was called Ren Yao. However, this was also a guardian, so how could everyone not exclaim in admiration? You are a guardian? Yi Juetian asked in shock. Yes. The male said faintly. Then do you know Ren Yao? Sun Fang asked. Ren Yao? I don't know him. Is he also a guardian? The male asked curiously. Li Hun nodded his head. Yes, he is also a guardian and his name is Ren Yao. That's great, can I meet him? The male seemed to have a goal and his tone was filled with urgency. Everyone looked at one another. What's wrong? Is there anything inconvenient about it? I saved your lives just now as well. Seems like this guardian wasn't an idiot, and he knew that saving someone's life was very important. However, he only said it subconsciously. Yi Juetian said helplessly, we are currently training and we can't go back right now, so, if you want to go back with us you can wait until we finish our training. Training in this kind of place? Everyone felt what this guardian meant. He wanted to say that this place is too weak and there is nothing to train in. To the guardian this place was indeed weak, and this place was just like bullying little kids in a kindergarten. However, to Yi Juetian and the others this place wasn't a kindergarten, this place was hell mode and just now they almost died. Yes. Yi Juetian said awkwardly. Forget it, I will wait for you all then in case you all die again. Everyone, Yi Juetian said respectfully, that guardian we are currently training if it is possible unless it is a crucial moment, do not take action to help us, it is not good for our training. I understand just now, perhaps you all had your own methods, I did an unnecessary move. Everyone, what methods did I have just now? I don't have any methods at all. However, these words, everyone only thought about it in their hearts, how shameful would it be to say it out loud. However, everyone was also puzzled. Why do I feel that this guardian is so strong, that Ren Yao doesn't seem to be this strong? Ren Yao only stomped the guardian's strength into a fried egg, if he were to absorb that strength, he would also be this strong. Chapter 1262. Let's have a good rest here tonight. Yi Juetian said. These monsters had all been scared off by the protectors, so this place should be very safe. With a great god by his side things were pretty stable indeed. Everyone nodded their heads. Right now there was still a bit of lingering fear in their hearts. Looking at the black-clothed guardian beside them, everyone felt that this plane was slightly safer. However, in Voidless Empire, no one knew that these people had just met with a life-and-death situation. However, the area outside the Imperial Palace was also bustling with noise and excitement. The people from the 9 prefectures and 5 seas had all teleported over, causing the place to be overcrowded. The streets were filled with people. Right now, Yi Hua was currently listening to Kai Yun's report. After all, Kai Yun was in charge of the city's security. Are you saying that those nobles from the 9 provinces and 5 seas are bullying people? Yi Hua asked faintly, while Donghuang Baiji who was beside Yi Hua was currently peeling grapes for him. Kai Yun said respectfully, although it hasn't reached the level of bullying people now, among those people they look down on the original residents. Adding on the disparity in strength, this is even more so. Subordinate feels that if this kind of thing were to continue for a long time, I'm afraid. I didn't pursue these people because I was giving Meng Yao face, but they still want a foot after giving me an inch. Truly hateful. Yi Hua said coldly. What I hate the most is this kind of people who think that they are infallible. You've only been here for a day and you're already using your identity to pressure me. Don't you know? Who was in charge here? Who are you? To put it bluntly, they were refugees. There are also some aristocrats of the 9 prefectures and 5 seas who don't obey the arrangements and use their wealth to buy high-end residences. Yi Hua went into a daze. There's really nothing that can be done about this. With money one can indeed do whatever one wants. Donghuang Baiji rolled her eyes. Yi Hua, you have to pay attention to this matter. If this continues for a long period of time, it will definitely not be good. The natives will definitely have complaints. Donghuang Baiji reminded. Yi Hua thought for a moment, then said faintly, Kayan, bring some people to go and suppress them. Capture those who are disobedient and behead them. With that, they will naturally not dare to be impudent anymore. Donghuang Baiji really wanted to poke Yi Hua's forehead, but since Kai Yun is here, forget it. Yi Hua, using killing to suppress is the worst choice. Yi Hua said indifferently, I feel that it's pretty good. Last time after I killed a few people who opposed me, all of them became well-behaved. Yi Hua, those are the ones who wanted to rebel against you and their sins are naturally big. However, these are not. You just need to punish them slightly and it will be fine. Yi Hua laughed lightly, Baiji, you are still too young. Even if they don't exist now, it doesn't mean that they won't exist in the future. If we don't suppress them as soon as possible, they wouldn't know how to be grateful. Your honor is right. These people are extremely arrogant and sooner or later they will want to stir up trouble. Your Honor's actions are very appropriate, Kai Yun said respectfully. Yihua didn't care about Donghuang Baiji's opinion and said to Kai Yun, "Go and do it. Make the scene a bit bigger and let them know that I, the Supreme Overlord, am not someone to be trifled with. Since they are in my territory they have to listen to me. If they don't listen to me they can just scram." "Yes, Your Honor." After receiving the order, Kai Yun immediately went to look for Yi Zizi. Things are going to be fun soon. When Kai Yun received Luo Ho's application he took a look. The ones who were arrogant were the aristocrats, at least 10% of them. The others were still relatively obedient. Of course, it wasn't all the nobles, but Kai Yun felt that there were at least 1,000 or more who were very mischievous. Capture them and behead them. After Kai Yun left, Donghuang Baiji sighed and said, "Yihua, actually there are other ways to solve this problem." Yihua said faintly, "This is the most direct way. Kai Yun can save a lot of trouble. You women, your hair is long but your knowledge is short. Don't go to bed tonight then? That isn't up to you to decide." Yihua snorted coldly, angering Donghuang Baiji to the point that she directly went to sleep. Meanwhile, Yihua didn't go to sleep. Right now, he was thinking about the general meeting that he would be having tomorrow morning. This was also the first general meeting that he would be having. Therefore, I have to properly think about the future plans. No, there are still some people who are still training and it still can't be considered as a general meeting. Forget it then, I will just casually say a few words tomorrow morning and go to sleep. At this moment, inside a luxurious tavern, a few people were sitting at a table and chatting about something. At the side of the table there were some people who were very powerful. Among the people who were sitting at the table there was also Meng Li. Other than Meng Li, who was a woman, the others were all men. Looking at their arrogant expressions, one could tell that they were the kind of people who had power and influence in the 9 provinces and 5 seas. Back then, when Meng Yao contacted others, she asked them to come to Voidless Empire. Therefore, other than the people on Meng Yao's side, there were other places as well. The place that exalted goddess Meng Yao recommended is indeed not bad. Look at the environment here. It's several times better than the previous one. The one who spoke was surnamed Lu. The Lu family's influence in Ding province was extraordinary, but Lu Xia realized that this place was better than any city in Ding province. "I have a suggestion. How about we develop this place into our own capital?" The one who spoke was called Long Yi. His looks were not good but he was very greedy. He was also a member of the Long family but Long Chu had died. Right now, only he had the greatest authority and naturally he would be able to become the patriarch of the Long family. However, previously, Long Yi was only a small elder, but the others were all dead. There was only Long Yi in the group of elders, so it was only natural. Long family had, "This is a good idea. We can call ourselves kings here." Lu Xia was the first to agree with the proposal. After saying that, Lu Xia and Long Yi looked at Meng Li. After all, Meng Li's strength was needed. "Meng Li, what do you think of our suggestion?" asked Under Lu in a low voice. Meng Li came back to her senses. "What did you two say just now?" "Meng Li, what I mean is, let us join hands and take down this city." Long Yi said indifferently, as if taking down Wuxia Empire was an easy thing to do. "What? You two want to take down this place?" Meng Li's expression immediately changed. "What kind of place is this? It's that emperor's territory, and that emperor even won against the palace master. But these fellows, they don't even know." "That's right," Long Yi said resolutely. A trace of bloodthirst could be seen in his eyes. "This is the first time I'm going to attack since I became the family head, so it's definitely going to be extraordinary." Meng Li said coldly, "Are you too crazy? Do you know where this place is? Do you know how the 9 provinces and 5 seas disappeared? Do you know who defeated the palace master?" Lu Xia said indifferently, "Meng Li, we know what you want to say, but those are all rumors. Who knows who defeated who? Could it be that you saw it with your own eyes? Looks like you two are crazy. To actually have ideas on Wuxia Empire, let me tell you. It was the emperor of this place who defeated the palace master." Meng Li shouted out gravely. Right now they finally have a place to stay and they actually want to monopolize it. They are simply bastards. Chapter 1263. Meng Li shouldn't have let them come here, it was simply a waste. "Meng Li, don't make it sound so serious. I, Long Yi, don't believe in rumors, I only believe in my eyes. The people here are all very weak, I can settle them all in a few minutes. Meng Li, just tell me, do you want to join?" Long Yi asked softly. There was a bit of threat in his tone. Even Lu Xia revealed a threatening gaze. Meng Li snorted, "It's impossible for me to join. However, just as Meng Li was about to reject, the people standing behind Lu Xia and Long Yi stopped Meng Li. It seemed like she had no choice but to agree. Meng Li, we are after all outsiders, we don't know how long we can live here, what if we get bullied? That's why we should unite now, this is the wisest decision. Lu Qin said softly, this kind of consideration was still reasonable. However, Meng Li wouldn't do that, that was the emperor. The emperor who won against the palace master. Do you think that I am some newbie? Those who walk different paths cannot make plans together, goodbye. Meng Li turned around and a man behind her stopped her with a cold gaze. Long Yi stood up and asked coldly, Meng Li, do you want to go and inform on the emperor? So what if I am? Meng Li shouted coldly, she wasn't afraid at all. If that's the case then please stay. Long Yi's words carried a deep disdain and of course, a threatening intent. However, right at this moment the door was suddenly pushed open. Two big sisters appeared. However, behind them, there were some people lying on the ground. These people were Lu Xia and Long Yi's subordinates. Who are you? Lu Qin shouted. Meng Li had naturally seen all of them before. These two people were the emperor's subordinates. Their strength was unknown. However, what was certain was that they should be very, very strong. I heard that you guys are gathering people to rebel. Kai Yun said with a slight smile. Yizizi sucked on her lollipop and looked at them with a playful expression. Long Yi laughed lightly. How could there be such a thing? You must have gotten it wrong. Kai Yun, how could I get it wrong? Meng Li, don't you think so? Kai Yun looked towards Meng Yao. Although Meng Yao and Meng Li are related, and Meng Yao even saved Meng Li, if they violated the principle it would be useless. Even if the Heavenly King were to plead for leniency, it would be useless. Shielding people who are rebelling is not far away from the death penalty. However, Meng Li didn't know that what she said would affect how far she could go in life. To the two of them they were from the same hometown, however these two fellows were a little bad. No matter what, they were still fellow villagers. Yes, Meng Li said seriously. Although they were from the same hometown, these two people from the same hometown had already wanted to kill her. Therefore she didn't want these people from the same hometown. Long Yi and Lu Xia immediately looked at Meng Li with killing intent. Yizizi said lightly, since you have this idea, then you must know the consequences of having this idea. Lower Lu, you kill that one. I'll kill this one with a ponytail. Long Yi shouted coldly. Alright. Killing you is as easy as killing chickens. The sixth move of the Lu family swordplay, natural great path. Dragon raising its head. Long Yi roared. The twos might instantly envelop the entire voidless empire, and everyone could feel their auras. To actually dare to cause trouble in voidless empire, they must have grown the guts of a male leopard. Yizizi and Kai Yun looked on, while Meng Li was very nervous. You two go and make a move, don't just stand there and not move. Yizizi sucked on her lollipop and said, you called me out for such a boring thing, I might as well go and sleep. Boring? Don't you find it fun? I just feel that it is fun. Fun my ass, I'm going back. Yizizi held back her words, then disappeared from where she was. Meng Li didn't even know what to say anymore. Kai Yun looked at the two people in front of him while panting with rage. You two are simply too trashy. I originally wanted to make my bestie happy, but in the end, you two are useless. An even more terrifying might was released out from Kai Yun's body. Both Lu Xia and Long Yi felt as if there was a small mountain pressing down on their backs. They were originally still charging in the sky, but now they were immediately pressed down, and their eyeballs were about to pop out. Just who are you? Lu Xia found it hard to believe. This girl actually defeated me with her aura. How is this possible? Even if it was her aura that was only aimed at me alone. Yet she was actually able to disperse her aura, and even Long Yi was suppressed. This little girl, isn't she too terrifying? Long Yi was also incomparably shocked in his heart. Is she still a human? This little girl is most likely even more powerful than the family head. Kai Yun said faintly, you all still don't have the qualifications to know, but you all are going to die soon. Man, bring her away. Yes, Flag Master. Luo Ho brought the yellow armored warrior and walked in, then brought everyone out. Only after Long Yi and Lu Xia walked out did they discover that all of their people were captured, and the entire street was filled with people kneeling down. Family head, save us. Family head, they said that they want to kill us. Family head, quickly come and save us. Everyone started asking Lu Xia and Long Yi for help, but what was the use? The two of them were already captured. There were still a lot of people who were watching the show in the surroundings, and of course, there were also people from the 9 provinces and 5 seas that were carrying puzzlement. It's only the first day that I came here, why did such a thing happen? Isn't that Lu Xia and Long Yi? Why did they get captured? Thinking back to what the two of them did before, everyone seemed to be able to understand. This kind of person's way of thinking is too crazy, the emperor here definitely wouldn't allow it. But then again, is the emperor here really that powerful? Exterminating the palace master? Meng Li followed behind Kai Yun. Luckily, I didn't act recklessly just now. If not, the one who would be kneeling down would be me. Just how strong is this little girl in front of me? Even Meng Li doesn't know right now. There were more and more people who were watching the show in the surroundings, and all of them were whispering to each other and pointing at each other. Kai Yun coughed lightly, and the scene immediately became quiet. These people. They are trying to rebel. The great emperor gave them food and lodging, yet they actually don't have a heart of gratitude, and even have wild ambitions. This kind of crime is unforgivable. Kai Yun shouted out coldly. Right now, Kai Yun felt that he was very imposing. This is what a flag master should have. Execution ground. Suddenly, someone shouted out from within the crowd. Following this shout, everyone began shouting out. Execution ground. Execution ground. Execution ground. Seems like these natives really don't like them. They're going too far. Lu Xia and Long Yi took a look at each other. What kind of place is this execution ground? Execution ground is the place where Yi Hua killed people last time, and normally only those who have committed serious crimes would go there. In actuality, Kai Yun was thinking the same way too. Since his honor said that we want to have a big scene, we can only do it at the execution ground. Kai Yun waved his hand, and the scene once again became quiet. Chapter 1264. This kind of sin is unforgivable, therefore, I grant you all death. Bring all of you to the execution ground. Kai Yun shouted coldly. Following Kai Yun's words, everyone started shouting. These people bullied us too much during the day and now they still want to rebel. They are too daring. You can't kill us. We are the people of the 9 provinces and 5 seas. You humans from a lower plane of existence are so vicious. You are simply the behavior of barbarians. Family head, save me. I don't want to die. Everyone's power was sealed and they were no different from ordinary people. They were completely unable to struggle free from the yellow armored warrior's restraints. Luo Ho, come over for a moment. I need you to go and arrange the guillotine. Kai Yun waved his hand and called Luo Ho over, then whispered into his ears. All right, subordinate will go and do it right away. Luo Ho went to do the task with an excited look on his face. Those who didn't know might even think that he went to find his wife. Kai Yun took a deep breath. I should have achieved his honor's expectations. What do you plan to do? Meng Li asked weakly. Behead them one by one. Kai Yun said coldly. To actually have the thought of monopolizing Wuxia Empire. They are simply too evil. His honor took them in out of kindness, yet they are all ingrates. I really feel sorry for his honor. After Kai Yun finished speaking, he left, leaving behind Meng Li, who had a stiff face. This Wuxia Empire doesn't seem to be an ordinary empire. In the 9 provinces and 5 seas, there were no wars and at most there would only be small fights. The number of deaths was also not very high. At most, there would only be a few hundred casualties. Thousands or even tens of thousands of casualties were very rare, and battles like this were even described as big wars by them. Meng Li was stunned for a long time, then hurriedly chased after Kai Yun. After walking through a few streets, Meng Li saw a huge building. Everyone was walking inside with anger on their faces, and they were cursing at those people who don't know what's good for them. Meng Li even saw that a lot of people were looking at her weirdly, as if they were looking at an outsider, with a kind of vigilance and alienation. In the end, Meng Li still walked inside. After entering, Meng Li discovered that this was a place that could seat tens of thousands of people, and there was an empty space in the middle. On the high platform there was a seat of honor. Presumably, that seat of honor belonged to the emperor. However, the one who was currently standing on top of it was Kai Yun, so of course he was only standing. Today's execution was a little special. A flight of stairs had just been added, and there was a platform at the top of the stairs. At this moment, there was a fat man with a red condom on his head and a silver machete in his hand. The criminals entered the prison one after another, and they lined up neatly behind the stairs. These people had just escaped from a calamity, but I didn't expect that. There wasn't that kind of situation where one is bound to have good fortune after surviving a great calamity. This was the rhythm where one would definitely die after surviving a great calamity. The viewing platform was already filled with people. There were people from the 9 provinces and 5 seas, and there were also people from the local area. The air was pervaded with the smell of blood. This place. Back then, over 10,000 people had been killed. That kind of smell of blood would not dissipate even after a few years. Even the sound of thunder resounded in the sky, adding a terrifying color to the oppressive atmosphere. Some of the criminals had already peed in their pants, and their legs were trembling non-stop. Why did I have to bully others? I am so regretful. If he didn't bully them and got along with them peacefully, how could such a situation happen? That was impossible. At this time, Kai Yun shouted, whether it's an original resident or a new resident, it doesn't matter. He had come to Wuxia Empire. You only have one identity. And that is the citizen of Wuxia Empire. There is no 9 provinces and 5 seas or anything else. All those who want to overthrow His Majesty's rule will be beheaded. His Majesty does not wish to see such a thing happening again. Carry out the execution. Kai Yun shouted out coldly, and a cold intent immediately pervaded the surroundings. Meng Li saw that Luxia, who was in high spirits just a moment ago, was being escorted onto the stairs, and right now, Luxia no longer had a trace of arrogance. His entire person seemed to have aged by tens of years, and his messy hair made people feel that he was very miserable. However, he only had himself to blame. No. Luxia was regretting right now. If I had known earlier that the people here were so strong, how would I have dared to stir up trouble? It is precisely because I didn't know that I wanted to stir up trouble. Luxia was pressed onto the edge of the stairs and knelt down onto the ground, and he lowered his head and looked towards the pit below. Originally, Meng Li was still puzzled about the meaning of digging a pit below the stairs, but right now she understood that the pit was used to store the head. If it was so savage, kill. The people in the surroundings started shouting, pushing the atmosphere to its climax. Luxia's begging for mercy had already been drowned out by the sounds. The executioner drank a mouthful of wine, then sprayed it onto the blade and aimed it at Luxia's neck. Swish. Luxia's head accurately fell into the pit, and the headless corpse spurted out a large amount of blood. It was a ghastly sight. The people who were shouting to kill just a moment ago immediately quietened down. Afterward, cheers erupted out. Kai Yun was very satisfied with this situation. Look at these spectators, they are about to become savage people just like me, haha. Meng Yao felt very uncomfortable when she saw this kind of scene. In the 9 provinces and 5 seas, this kind of primitive method of solving problems had long been abolished. Not only Meng Li, the other people in the 9 provinces and 5 seas also felt the same way. This is too cruel, right? Looking at the spectators in the surroundings, they were all shouting and cheering. This is something that I am unable to understand. This kind of savage method, there are actually people who are clapping and cheering. This is simply subverting my worldview. Meng Li really couldn't understand. This kind of cruel thing can actually be carried out in such a manner. Even if this is to be carried out, it has to be done secretly. How can it be carried out so openly? This is truly something that I am unable to understand. The heads fell one after another, and the bones of the corpses were pushed to the side one after another, waiting to be carried away. No matter how awesome one was in the past, after coming to Wuxia Empire, even if one was a dragon, one would still have to coil up. This is not a joke, this is a lesson learned in blood. Kai Yun looked at the beheading just like that. He felt that this program is not bad and I have to hold it more often in the future. This also caused the people in the city to become obedient, not daring to infuriate this Lord Kai Yun. However, these were all things that happened in the future. At this very moment, the blood on the ground was already showing signs of forming a small pond, and it was a ghastly sight to behold. The headless corpses at the side were like trash that were thrown around messily. Right now, Meng Li really couldn't understand what kind of flaw does this place have, and why would Meng Yao say that this place is good. This place is so savage, and yet Meng Yao actually said that this place is so good. I completely can't see what's good about this place. What's so good about this place? The smell of blood at the scene was very dense, and it was as if the sky was going to be dyed red, causing people to tremble even though it wasn't cold. When the emperor makes a move, people will definitely die. Chapter 1265. However, compared to the previous time, this time was just child's play. Although there was a change in the technique, the overall atmosphere was still slightly lacking. Therefore Yihua had to work harder. As time passed, all of the traitors were beheaded, and the ground was practically filled with blood. This truly made people sigh. Kai Yun floated in the sky and said gravely, "This is just a warning, I hope that you all can keep it in mind. Don't forget who gave you all of this. Since you can give it, you can also take it all back. Therefore, I hope that you all understand that living a good life is better than anything else." Right after Kai Yun finished speaking, he disappeared from where he stood, leaving behind a bloody scene. Of course, there were also tens of thousands of people who were astonished. This emperor is truly powerful. It seems like anyone who stands in front of him, he can just kill them with a single move. This kind of aura is truly unstoppable. The crowd gradually left. No one paid attention to the people who died in the pit. In their hearts, those people only had themselves to blame. The emperor had given them enough face, and if they didn't give the emperor face, only an abyss of fear would be waiting for them. The people of the 9 provinces and 5 seas were naturally unable to understand such a method. It was bloody and inhumane. This place was simply like a hell. It had a bright and beautiful appearance, but deep evil was hidden in its heart. Although today's scene wasn't enough to shock the hearts of the people, it wasn't too far off. At the very least, it managed to shock all of the newcomers. After all, those 2 people were brazen. There were also some who were waiting to see what would happen next. However, looking at the current situation, there shouldn't be any hope. Of course, if those people were courting death, they could go and give it a try. Yi Hua wasn't clear about what happened tonight, but even if he knew, he wouldn't oppose it. After all, sometimes, this kind of suppression was needed to be effective. Other methods would only show that you were weak and powerless. The next morning, Yi Hua woke up very early. Donghuang Baiji, who was beside him, did not have any reaction. Yi Hua put on his clothes and walked out of the bedroom by himself without waking up Donghuang Baiji. Yi Hua did not go and look for his subordinates. Instead, he went to look for Gong Yu, his pregnant sister-in-law. Since this little brother of his is not at home, I should go and take a look at the situation. Meng Yao is gone, and if even Gong Yu is gone, then when this little brother of his returns, it can be imagined. Arriving at Gong Yu's sleeping quarters, Yi Hua discovered that Gong Yu had woken up very early in the morning and was currently trimming the flowers. Behind her, there were 2 palace maids who were serving upon her. It was hard to tell whether Gong Yu was happy or sad. She seemed a little calm, but this was normal for a pregnant woman who was waiting. Your Majesty. Gong Yu immediately noticed Yi Hua's arrival and walked forward and greeted respectfully. Yi Hua said faintly, "Get up." "Thank you, Your Majesty." Yi Hua took a look at Gong Yu's stomach, then asked indifferently, "How is the child recently?" Seems like in Yi Hua's heart, the child is still more important. After all, the child is the bloodline of Yi family, there shouldn't be anything more important than the child. Your Majesty, the child's condition has been very good during this period of time, there is no need to worry. Gong Yu said softly. It was obvious that she was referring to herself as well. She was the kind of mother who relied on the fact that she had a son. If she didn't have this child, she would probably still be waiting in the dungeon. It's good that you are fine, lest absolute heaven gets worried, Yi Hua said in a low voice. On the other hand, Gong Yu was thinking, if I can make absolute heaven worry, I am willing to do anything. Yi Hua originally wanted to tell Gong Yu about Meng Yao's death, but in the end he didn't say it. If his younger brother were to return, at least he would know that Meng Yao was still alive and not dead. Your Majesty, you can be at ease, I will take good care of myself and wait for absolute heaven to return. Gong Yu lightly rubbed her stomach. Right now her stomach was still not big, but the little life inside her stomach was her child, and of course, it was also her child with Yi Juetian. Her life suddenly became even more perfect. Yi Hua looked at the slightly raised corner of Gong Yu's mouth, and suddenly felt that, right now, this woman is already satisfied. This kind of satisfaction doesn't come from power, it is just a simple feeling of satisfaction. I will be leaving first. Farewell, Your Majesty. Looking at Yi Hua leaving her bedroom, Gong Yu let out a light breath. I was really afraid that this temperamental big brother emperor would punish me. If Yi Hua were to know of this, he would definitely be speechless. When did I become a temperamental person? I am clearly a person who calms down. Towards the meeting that was held in the morning, Yi Hua placed quite a bit of importance on it. Although the number of people in the meeting was not very full, the things that should be said still had to be said. Right now, everything seems to have been settled, and it is time for me to make a detailed plan for the future. Just what am I going to do? It is making me very confused right now. In the main hall, Yi Hua wasn't wearing the emperor's robe, and he was dressed in a rather ordinary attire as he sat on the throne. Have all the rebellions that happened yesterday been dealt with? Yi Hua looked at his subordinates and asked faintly. Today's Yi Hua was rather noteworthy. Even now, there was still a trace of redness on her face. Looking at Lai Gu, he looks as if he had just lost a battle, and his entire body looked as if he was about to collapse. Meanwhile, Qing Su's expression was filled with a look of success. Seems like I tricked Lai Gu again. Wei Chang and Dou Fushi appeared to be a bit downcast, but after knowing that their wives are fine, they became slightly more at ease. As for the others, they are still the same. At this moment, Kai Yun said respectfully, Reporting to your honor, the rebellions have been eradicated. A total of 2,031 heads were chopped off. Not bad, Kai Yun is already on the right track. Yi Hua praised Kai Yun. There is no need for me to remind Kai Yun about some things. One must understand the thoughts of the leader and then carry out the tasks accordingly. This is what a good subordinate should be like. Kai Yun was delighted. This is the first time that I have received his honor's performance. This is truly exciting yet also unbelievable. To think that there would actually be such a good thing. I only did an insignificant thing, and yet, I was able to receive such a pleasant surprise. After Yi Hua praised Kai Yun, everyone felt a burst of envy. Meanwhile, Wei Chang was thinking in his heart, when is his honor going to praise me? After all, I am using my life to display the quintessence of the matter. However, Wei Chang was going to be disappointed, because his honor didn't talk about this matter at all. After this matter, the focus of our entire team's work seems to have changed a bit. Therefore, I want to come up with a new plan for our future development and so on. Right now, Yi Hua was indeed a bit lost. Although I have only been here for a day, living without a direction, what difference is there between me and a salted fish? Tell me, do you all have any good suggestions? Yi Hua asked faintly. Wei Chang expressed that he was very sad. What about the praise? I, Wei Chang, have already sacrificed so much. At this moment, Wei Chang took a step forward and said respectfully, Your Honor, ever since the matter between Ching Su and me. Chapter 1266. When Wei Chang said the word, I, it seemed like he was reminding his honor. Did he forget to say something? For example, praising Wei Chang's brain. Isn't this a very important thing? Yi Hua looked towards Wei Chang and the latter's gaze flickered. That's right, there is still another fortune teller at the back. Things are still not over yet. Yi Hua suddenly recalled that there is still another fortune teller that I have yet to deal with. Wei Chang, you have been hiding there for so long, did you manage to obtain any news? Yi Hua asked faintly. Wei Chang was very depressed. It felt like his quests weren't over yet, so he had to continue completing quests. When all the quests were completed, he would be praised. Such a result was still acceptable. Your Honor, I don't know the whereabouts of that fortune teller. I'm afraid that even the palace master and the others don't know. Wei Chang said respectfully. That fortune teller was indeed very powerful, so he had to strengthen his defenses and not let his guard down. Yi Hua said faintly, this fortune teller naturally has to be included in the list of plans. Furthermore, this fortune teller is of the utmost importance, so we must definitely pay attention to him. Understood. All the subordinates shouted in unison. Just as Yi Hua was about to continue expressing his opinion, his younger sister Yi Yuanqing's voice suddenly rang out in his mind. Brother, I'm in trouble. Yi Yuanqing said unwillingly. He really didn't want to ask his big brother for help, but he had no choice but to do so because the spirit capital was going to change. All of these people were very strong, and we were completely unable to resist them. These people even claimed to be from the Eastern Emperor clan, the imperial family. However, now that the imperial family had changed their surname, the Eastern royal clan was furious, and the current emperor was actually a woman. Don't you think I'm angry? What happened? Yi Hua asked gravely. I don't really understand why my little sister is in trouble. This doesn't seem to be right. Those people called Donghuang have occupied the imperial palace, and there are a lot of powerful people among them. Yi Yuanqing didn't have any other way to deal with Donghuang. Yi Hua slightly wrinkled his brows. Why is it the Eastern Emperor clan again? The 9 prefectures and 5 seas had all collapsed. The battle that day seemed to have ignored the Donghuang clan, and it was because they had all died. Did he not die at all? All of them ran to Lingdu? This seemed to be possible. That Donghuang Ji had such an ability, or the entire Donghuang clan should have such an ability. Yuanqing, where is the person that I gave you? Yi Hua asked gravely. Big brother, they have a lot of experts. The people you gave me have disappeared, Yi Yuanqing said in a low voice. He had thought that with the strength of the 3 of them, his sister would be able to do whatever she wanted. However, he was wrong. Those 3 people were indeed very powerful, but compared to Donghuang Jishang, they were still lacking. Furthermore, the strength of the Eastern Emperor Extreme Shang wasn't just for show. Running into Yi Hua could only be considered as his misfortune. However, if he ran into someone else, it would be a different story altogether. After hearing his little sister's words, Yi Hua's expression turned ugly. This Donghuang clan, I, the Supreme Overlord, have already spared you all once, and yet, you all actually dare to push your luck yet again. Looks like I'll have to make a trip to Lingdu. My younger sister won't be able to handle this. However, at this moment Yi Yuanqing, who had been living in the palace, had moved out. It must be said, just how fast was the Donghuang clan's speed. They had just arrived at Lingdu, and they had already chased the newly appointed empress down from her position. However, Yi Yuanqing was actually spared by the Donghuang Ji once. This could only mean one thing: as long as one's surname was Yi, a miracle would always appear. Big sister, what did Big Brother say? Yi Chen hurriedly asked. During the family's most crucial moment, only Big Brother was the most reliable. Right now, Father had already fainted from fright in the toilet, and his entire body was trembling. After all, he had offended the powerful Donghuang clan. Yi Yuanqing said in a low voice, Big Brother said that he will immediately come over and handle this matter. That's good. As long as Big Brother is willing to come over and handle this matter, I can be sure that everything will be settled. At this moment, Yizha was also at ease. Originally, I thought that I would be able to handle this small matter by myself, but I discovered that doesn't exist. Father had already fainted from fright. Right now, Yi Yuanqing was still wearing the Empress's royal robe. This is real. Why didn't the Donghuang Ji kill Yi Yuanqing and these people with the surname Yi? It's all because these people all have the surname Yi. Perhaps it was because their home was destroyed and it was destroyed by someone with the surname Yi, and they were unable to resist. Right now, as long as they heard someone with the surname Yi, they would subconsciously have the urge to turn around and run away. There was really no other way. For some people, as long as you have seen them, the evil in their bones would be deeply engraved in your heart, and you wouldn't dare to go against them in the slightest. This was especially so for powerful people. For example, the Donghuang Ji had already been frightened to the point that his liver and gallbladder were trembling. Logically speaking, the matter of seizing the throne definitely had to kill these people. However, in the end they still let them go. Inside the palace, the Donghuang Ji was currently sitting on the throne, looking down at the officials and the higher-ups of the Donghuang clan. Among the officials, Shan Junren was naturally there as well. After all, he was the prime minister. However, this prime minister as well as the officials were all standing behind the Donghuang clan. Everyone was trembling with fear. From yesterday until today, too many things that no one could understand had already happened. However, these things that no one could understand actually made people feel that it was reasonable or perhaps normal. The Donghuang Ji was sitting on the throne with a gloomy expression, because he didn't sleep well at all last night. The reason why he didn't sleep well was because he was frightened. He was afraid that those people with the surname Yi were related to that man. If they were really related to that man, then this matter would be very troublesome. It was simply the rhythm of death. Even if those people with the surname Yi seized the throne, didn't I still not kill a single person? I'm just afraid that I killed the wrong person. I don't even dare to ask about his background. If this person's background is extraordinary, what should I do? Wouldn't that mean that I'm going to die? I've died once in the past and I've died quite thoroughly. This time I really don't want to die again. My previous home is already gone, and this old home is my last piece of land. If even this piece of land is gone, then what is there to stay for? However, there are some things that should still be asked. This concerns the future and future life. Previously, how did those people with the surname Yi sit on the throne? Why didn't you people stop them? The Donghuang Ji asked in a deep voice. However, his heart was beating like a drum. If I hear an answer that I don't want to hear, then what should I do? Chapter 1267. Among the officials, no one dared to answer this question. This was obviously a suicide question, the kind that whoever answered would die. It was commonly known as a scapegoat. What, no one wants to say anything? Donghuang Ji shouted coldly. The atmosphere immediately became tense. However, no matter how nervous they were, no one said anything, as if offending anyone would make them feel uncomfortable. Who has the highest official position? Donghuang Ji shouted angrily, as if he wanted to release all of the fear in his heart. Thus, everyone looked toward Shan Junren. The latter's expression was calm, but in his heart, he was cursing. The higher the official position, the scapegoat? You tell me, why did such a situation happen? You all are protecting the face of the royal family, yet you let an outsider sit on this chair. What face do you all have left? Shan Junren said respectfully, Old ancestor, this is a long story. Then make it short. Donghuang Ji said faintly. That is because of Prince Yi. Prince Yi? What's his full name? Donghuang Ji asked confusedly. Who is this Prince Yi? Why doesn't it feel so good? Shan Junren naturally didn't dare to lie right now. Lying right now was no different from courting death. Yihua. Shan Junren said in a low voice. He felt that calling Prince Yi by his full name was a bit disrespectful to Prince Yi. However, those two words exploded in Dong Huangji's mind. Yihua. Isn't it that man? Everyone saw the old ancestor's expression instantly change. The speed at which his expression changed was even faster than that of a woman. Furthermore, within that ferocious expression, there was a trace of fear. Why would there be a trace of fear? Everyone was a bit confused. You are right. That tall and handsome Yihua? Why does he keep a straight face all day? It's as if everyone owes him money. He's so arrogant. The officials didn't expect that the old ancestor would actually evaluate Prince Yi like this. He simply evaluated the essence of Prince Yi. That's right, Prince Yi is this kind of person, my friend. There's nothing wrong with it. Old ancestor, the person you described should be Prince Yi. Shan Junren said respectfully. He still didn't understand why. Dong Huangji was stupefied. Dong Huangfei, who was in the crowd, was also stupefied. Even Dong Huangqingro was stupefied. Can there be such a coincidence? How could he meet this person here? Dong Huangji was feeling extremely aggrieved in his heart. If it was possible, he didn't want to ask earlier on. But now that he had asked, he didn't want to know. How can the heavens torture people like this? Dong Huangji Shang could be seen suddenly standing up. Tell me, where did that empress from yesterday live? Yi Yuanqing is still at home, Yi family? Dong Huangji instantly disappeared from where he was. That urgent look of his made it seem as if his wife was giving birth at home. He didn't want to be careless. Of course they couldn't be careless. That was a man who was ferocious to the point of exploding. If he was also a member of the Yi family, he had offended the other party again. He could even topple a hall master, and yet he was still talking about himself? When he arrived on the streets of Spirit Capital, Dong Huangji started to ask the passers-by where the Yi family was. Then he hurriedly flew over. This matter cannot be sloppy at all. I have to bring that woman, no. I have to bring that empress up to the throne. Let's just pretend that nothing happened yesterday, what do you think? Dong Huangji came to the entrance of the Yi clan and directly knocked on the door. However, in other places, Dong Huangji wouldn't do this at all. Whenever he knocked on the door, he would just directly push the door open. However, in this kind of situation, would he dare to knock on the door? He obviously wouldn't dare to knock on the door. After all, everyone here is my ancestor. You all are my ancestor. Very quickly, a servant opened the door. Who is it? The servant, who didn't understand the situation, was very arrogant. After all, the current Yi family was different from the past. If it was in the past, if such an arrogant servant appeared, Dong Huangji wouldn't pay attention to him. However, there would naturally be someone who would kill him. However, the current situation was different from the past. This little brother, can I trouble you to inform the servant that Dong Huangji is here to look for me? Dong Huangji slightly bowed his body and had a fawning look on his face. However, the servant stretched out his hand and waved it, as if you should understand. Dong Huangji didn't have much experience in the world, and he didn't understand what the servant was doing. Shaking hands was the best face that the servant could give the servant. Are you sick? You don't even understand this. Dong Huangji suppressed the anger in his heart. This lowly person actually dares to insult me and say that I'm sick. If it's possible, I really want to kill this person. Right now, Dong Huangji understood. Bringing money was not something that the boss would do, the boss only had treasures on him. Therefore, Dong Huangji gave the servant a pearl. The servant took a look at the pearl, then shook it and said faintly, "Not bad, go in." "Thank you, little brother." Dong Huangji thought in his heart. This little brat is truly hard to deal with. The servant sneered. With a single look, I can tell that this is a man who hasn't seen the world before. To actually come to the back door and knock on the door and even foolishly give me treasures, isn't this person sick? Yi family was actually quite big. Just like Dong Huangji, in order to find the empress, he didn't speak loudly, and he also didn't ask randomly. Why is it that as long as you ask, all sorts of things and treasures will be given to you and you will tell them the truth, but in the end they will still be fake? I have never seen such a scammer. Everyone here is a scammer. Everyone is targeting me, they are simply very bad. Dong Huangji, who was lost, could only find a place to sit down and calm himself down. Don't flatten this place just because I lost my temper. Suddenly the sound of footsteps rang out. Dong Huangji directly said, "Don't come and ask me for things, I don't have any treasures anymore." "Ancestor?" Yi Chen cried out in shock. He had seen this person in the royal court yesterday, so he recognized him with a single look. This person even chased me and big sister out yesterday, why is he here again today? Just what is the meaning of this? You are? Why would Dong Huangji care about other people's names? towards this young man in front of him, he did not have any impression at all. I am Yichen. Yi Yuanqing is my big sister. What? You are Yichen. Bring me to see your big sister quickly. There is an urgent matter. In Yi Chen's eyes, this ancestor was a very decent person, so why is he so impatient and not calm at all? Furthermore, why is he so anxious to find big sister? What is going on? However, thinking about the current situation, I can only bring him to see her. There might still be a chance for things to turn around. Yi Chen did not say anything and directly brought Dong Huangji to find big sister. Right now, Yi Yuanqing was waiting for his big brother's arrival so that he can take back the throne, so he was clearly a bit impatient. However, at the door, two figures suddenly appeared. This caused Yi Yuanqing to be startled because one of them was Dong Huangji, this man who chased him off the throne yesterday. Chapter 1268. Big Sister He. Before Yi Chen could finish, Dong Huangji rushed forward and bowed. If he were to kneel and slide, the effect would be even better. Yi Yuanqing was dumbfounded. What is going on? This old ancestor of the Donghuang clan is actually bowing to me? What is the meaning of this? I don't understand what is going on. Please follow me, Empress. Dong Huangji bowed with a pious heart. However, when he lowered his head, his gaze was filled with boundless fear. Who would have known that the woman he chased down was actually that man's little sister? This man is so unlucky, even water will get stuck between his teeth. What are you doing? Yi Yuanqing questioned coldly. This man actually wants me to follow him. How is that possible? Who knows where he is going? Maybe he is looking for a chance to kill me. This is simply unbearable. When Big Brother comes, I will teach him a lesson. Misunderstanding. This is all a misunderstanding. I was immature yesterday. Donghuang Corporation hurriedly said. If I don't lower my head now, when will I do it? Could it be that I have to wait until I die before lowering my head? Yi Yuanqing finally understood. This man actually took the initiative to admit his mistake? Could it be that Big Brother has already come over to greet me? It is very possible. Big Brother is still the best. I just said how long has it been? Big Brother has already settled everything properly. Big Brother is amazing. Is it really a misunderstanding? Yi Yuanqing felt that with Big Brother supporting him, he immediately became confident. Donghuang Jishang said in a low voice, yes, it's all a misunderstanding. Regarding yesterday's matter, I will do my best to compensate you. Empress, please move to the Imperial Palace. That is where you should be living and not here. Who was the one who said that I don't have the right to stay there yesterday? Yi Yuanqing teased. Her mood became much better. Dong Huangji knew that this woman was making things difficult for him, but what could he do? This was the only way. It is all my fault. I hope that Empress will not hold it against me. Dong Huangji was filled with grievances. When have I ever been so lowly? Never, never, but today. I'm so lowly that it even reaches my crotch. Yi Yuanqing did not have the interest to continue messing around. That's enough. Big Brother has already arranged everything properly. Alright, I understand. You can go back first. No? Your Majesty must enter the palace now, only then can I be at ease. Donghuang Jishang's heart was thumping like a drum. If this matter were to be known by that demon, it would definitely be hard to clean up the mess. Yi Yuanqing said softly, I still need to make some preparations. I will return to the palace tomorrow. Go back and clean up and put my things back in place. Hearing this, Donghuang Jishang felt as if he had dealt with something unpleasant. It seemed like he had to change it based on his memory. But this required time as well. Alright, I understand. Donghuang Jishang said hurriedly. He turned around and was about to leave, but he suddenly realized that he didn't seem to have asked to leave. If he did, it would seem that he was lacking in manners. He turned back and said, Your Majesty, I just want to go back and make preparations. Go. All right. Dong Huangji finally dared to go back and prepare. Seeing Dong Huangji leave, Yi Chen asked out of curiosity, Is it because of Big Brother? Yi Yuanqing nodded, Only Big Brother has such ability. Yi Chen agreed and said happily, With Big Brother around, we will be able to bring glory to Yi family. That's right. With just the few of us, it is far from enough. Yi Yuanqing let out a long sigh. This is the most important problem. Big sister, I will go and make arrangements first. All right. Yi Chen cupped his hands then left. Yi Yuanqing let out a breath, and a trace of a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Right at this moment, a figure appeared in front of Yi Yuanqing. Other than Yi Hua, who else could it be? Big Brother. Yi Yuanqing stood up and said joyfully. Soon after, she pounced into her big brother's embrace. I feel so safe. No wonder my sisters-in-law like Big Brother so much. Originally, Yi Hua came here to solve the problem, but his little sister's reaction just now caused him to be a bit stupefied. What is going on? Why is she so happy? Could it be that she is so happy because she saw me, her big brother? I, the Supreme Overlord, am very touched. As expected of my little sister. Big brother, you are the best. Yi Yuanqing said excitedly. He even stood on his tiptoes and kissed his little sister. Don't misunderstand, this is the pure love between brother and sister. Yi Hua naturally knew that as well. He lightly patted onto his little sister's head. Little sister is in trouble as your big brother, I naturally have to come and help you. Sure enough, it is the same as what I thought. Big brother, you are really amazing. You settled the matter in just a few minutes. Settled? Yi Hua asked confusedly, indicating that he didn't know at all. That's right, wasn't it Big Brother who settled the matter? Yi Yuanqing asked curiously. Yi Hua was a bit embarrassed, but he still said seriously, of course I, as your big brother, will definitely settle the matter for you. Hehe, you are amazing, big brother. Yi Yuanqing gave a thumbs up. Yi Hua was confused. It should be that the Eastern Emperor family knows about me, that's why they took the initiative to apologize to me, right? Other than this, there really isn't any other possibility. Since everything is settled, big brother, I will be going back first. Alright, big brother, take care. When you are free, come and eat at little sister's place. Yi Hua waved his hand. Alright, when the time comes, big brother will bring your sisters-in-law over. Make sure to prepare more. Don't worry, big brother, I will make sure that you are full. Yi Hua smiled and nodded his head, then disappeared from the spot. However, Yi Hua didn't go back home. Instead, he went to look for Dong Huangji. This old man shouldn't be dead yet. Just when Dong Huangji arrived at the palace, he saw a figure landing beside him. When he took a look, he almost peed in his pants. Brother-in-law. Dong Huangji didn't know why he called out this word, but if he didn't call out this word, perhaps someone might die. When Yi Hua heard this word, he slightly went into a daze. After all, being called brother-in-law by an old man, that kind of feeling is rather strange. However, thinking about it now, it doesn't seem right. Dong Huang Baiji is actually his big sister? If that's the case, just how old is the Empress? If that's the case, wouldn't I be at a disadvantage? Other people always say that a woman who is 3 years older will hug a golden brick. But this isn't just 3 years old, there are even women who are 30,000 years old. The Empress is really dishonest, hiding her age, she is really bad. When I return, I have to properly reason with the Empress. I heard that you chased my little sister off the throne? Yi Hua said coldly. His pair of eyes carried an ice-cold aura, as if as long as you don't say a single word correctly, I will kill you. Chapter 1269. Dong Huangji also had the same feeling and his entire body shivered. Brother-in-law, this is all a misunderstanding. The flood rushed to the Dragon King's temple. A misunderstanding, a misunderstanding. Dong Huangji was so flustered that he started dancing. Misunderstanding? That's right, I dare to swear to the heavens that this is all a misunderstanding, I didn't intend to harm anyone at all. Dong Huangji patted his chest and said, wishing that he could shatter his own chest to prove himself. Looking at Dong Huangji's attitude, Yi Hua felt that this situation was still pretty good. If anything were to happen in the future, Dong Huangji would be able to lead the Dong Huang family and help his sister. After all, I can't take care of my sister forever. It's fine to prepare another path for my sister. Since you said that this is a misunderstanding, I will believe you for once. Yi Hua said lightly. Hearing this tone, even Dong Huangji heaved a sigh of relief. This is how a normal tone should be. That tone just now was simply terrifying, as if he wanted to kill me. Thank you, brother-in-law, thank you, brother-in-law. Dong Huangji hurriedly thanked Yi Hua and finally heaved a sigh of relief. Yi Hua said gravely, didn't you guys create a Dong Huang family? In the future, continue to do so, properly assist my sister, understand? I know, I think so too. Dong Huangji felt that he had returned to the time when he was young, and he could casually say those kind of compliments. It is for the best that you have such awareness, let's leave it at that. Yi Hua said indifferently, then his body disappeared. Right now, Dong Huangji's back was drenched with sweat. This man can even deal with palace masters, what else can't he deal with? If he wanted to kill me just now, I reckon that he would be able to deal with me with a single slap. This is already the best ending, I am truly fortunate. Very quickly Yi Hua returned to his own empire. His subordinates had already been dismissed, and Wei Chang had also released Death Mage and Death Assassin. When Death Mage found out that his woman actually went to train, although he didn't have a scalp, he still felt numb. However, Death Assassin was thinking about how is that Long Out Yin? Is he in any danger? After all, he is still my disciple and that golden-haired little treasure. Yi Hua had almost forgotten about that matter, and he couldn't even remember who Long Out Yin was. After thinking for a long time, I finally figured it out. So it's that man. I felt that it's a little funny, but I never expected that the Death Assassin would actually be guarding beside Long Out Yin. However, to Yi Hua this was just a small matter and he didn't take it to heart. Because there was something more important that needed to be dealt with. Your Honor, something happened. Zhu Tian hurried over and reported the situation. What happened? Yi Hua was currently eating lunch with Dong Huang Baiji, and Zhu Tian suddenly rushed over. For Zhu Tian to be this anxious, Yi Hua knew that it was definitely a big matter. If it was just a small matter, Zhu Tian would definitely not disturb Dong Huang Baiji's meal. Dong Huang Baiji slightly raised her head and looked towards Zhu Tian, and her expression gradually became grave. Could it be that among those people, someone is in danger? It's the people who are training, Absolute Heaven said in a deep voice. Yi Hua tightly wrinkled his brows. Among those people there was my own younger brother and my subordinates. If something were to really happen to them it wouldn't be good. Who died? Yi Hua asked coldly. This caused Dong Huang Baiji to become cold as well. Zhu Tian hurriedly explained, Your Honor, madam, it's not that someone died, it's just that there's an extra person. Yi Hua and Dong Huang Baiji were puzzled. There's an extra person? Who is that person? Yi Hua asked curiously. There shouldn't be anyone else in that kind of place. Zhu Tian said in a low voice as if he was talking about a secret. That person he claims to be a guardian. Zhu Tian said in a light voice, and his tone was filled with astonishment. After all, quite a few of these guardians had already appeared and right now there was even one of them living in the imperial palace. When Yi Hua heard that this guardian had appeared, the frown on his brows became even deeper. These guardians have been appearing one after another since the very beginning, and it was as if they had already agreed on this beforehand. The main point was the strength of these guardians were all extremely formidable. However, what kind of things would a group of such people be protecting? This was what made Yi Hua curious. However, under this curiosity, Yi Hua kept feeling that this was not a good thing. This was a kind of intuition, but Yi Hua never believed in intuition and he only believed in himself. Your Honor, how should we deal with this guardian? Zhu Tian asked respectfully. He is following little Tian and the others? Yi Hua picked up his chopsticks, picked up a green bean and placed it into his mouth to chew. That's right. Let him continue following us then. Yi Hua also had his own plans. Right now, he had a better feeling towards the person behind the guardian. If it is possible, I really want to meet up with the guardian and have a chat with him. Or perhaps, just what exactly are these guardians protecting, or who are they protecting? I, the Supreme Overlord, hope that it is who it is. If it is something, I, the Supreme Overlord, will be disappointed. Of course, legendary weapons are still very rare, and if it is possible, Yi Hua also wants to get his hands on one to satisfy his craving. Zhu Tian naturally wouldn't go against his honor's order, and he shouted out respectfully, Subordinate shall take his leave, I shall not disturb his honor and your wife from enjoying their meal. After speaking, Yi Juetian swallowed his saliva. These dishes seem to be very delicious. Is the one who is the best at cooking and right now she has gone out to train, causing the amount of food that she gets to eat to plummet. Furthermore, Blood Demon only cooks for his honor, and other people can only eat his honor's food during festivals. It must be said, right now, Blood Demon has obtained his honor's heart, with his culinary skills. Compared to strength, Blood Demon is much more powerful. After Zhu Tian left, Yi Hua placed down his chopsticks, picked up the wine that was beside him and lightly took a sip. Yi Hua, just who are these guardians? Why are they appearing one after another? Dong Huang Baiji was also very worried. She felt that these guardians were the ones that she needed to be on guard against. As for that palace master, she could just directly ignore him. Yi Hua took a sip of the wine, then said faintly, These people are indeed a bit troublesome. The problem is, what are they protecting? After all, none of them are weak. Then, will they be targeting us? Hearing Yi Hua's tone, Dong Huang Baiji felt as if they wouldn't be able to win the battle. Yi Hua laughed lightly, targeting us? That will only hasten their deaths. Looking at Yi Hua's relaxed expression again, Dong Huang Baiji was slightly infected. Yi Hua has never been afraid of anyone. That would be for the best. Yi Hua, you have to work hard, don't let your guard down anymore. Yi Hua smiled as he stroked onto Dong Huang Baiji's hair. Rest assured, Your Majesty, I have always been the one who wins the first battle. There is no such thing as me making a mistake. Chapter 1270. Dong Huang Baiji remained silent. I'm afraid that Yi Hua will really make a mistake one day. In a battle between experts, a mistake would mean losing your life. Promise me in the future, you will treat every battle seriously. Dong Huang Baiji held onto Yi Hua's hand and said worriedly. Yi Hua nodded his head. Don't worry, I will promise you this rude request of yours. Dong Huang Baiji laughed. You bastard, I am talking to you seriously, yet you are acting so frivolous again. When did I become frivolous? Your Majesty, don't slander me. Yi Hua smiled faintly. TSK. Dong Huang Baiji snorted. Yi Hua suddenly thought of something and pinched the Empress's cheeks. Right, Your Majesty, I have something to ask you. What is it? Dong Huang Baiji asked confusedly. Actually, it's not a big matter. I just want to ask you, how old are you compared to me? Yi Hua revealed a teasing smile. Seeing Yi Hua's smile, Dong Huang Baiji immediately knew that this fellow was teasing her again. Do you want to know? Dong Huang Baiji teased. Sometimes, a husband and wife need this kind of atmosphere to improve their relationship. Yi Hua nodded his head. I can be your ancestor now. Dong Huang Baiji spread out her hands. Yi Hua's mouth twitched. I feel that I am at a disadvantage. Are you older than me by tens of thousands of years or even hundreds of thousands of years? What do you want? The Empress placed her hands on her waist. Is she looking down on me now? I want to have a taste of your ancestor. After speaking, Yi Hua carried the Empress. Empress Baiji cried out in surprise. Yi Hua, it's broad daylight. What does it have to do with me? Shameless. Your Majesty, do you think that a shameless man will be able to get a beautiful wife? That's impossible. You are full of twisted logic. Dong Huang Baiji said snappily. Old witch. Who are you calling an old witch? Yi Hua. I'm not done with you. The room immediately filled with the sound of the two scolding each other. Their relationship sure is good. Meanwhile, Long Outyen's group had already arrived at the Sea of Innocence, where the north and south intersected. Their journey was more daunting than dangerous, and they did not encounter any major incidents. They did not even see any pursuers. However, towards the Death Assassin's sudden departure, everyone was puzzled. Of course, they were reluctant to part with him. However, they also saw many wondrous sights along the way. Ever since that night, the entire continent had undergone tremendous changes. Some of the ground sank, some of the ground cracked, and some of the ground rose up like a mountain. Along the way, the few of them were amazed. Long Outyen even felt that it had something to do with that night. Even the disappearance of the Death Assassin was related to that night. Previously, he'd heard that the Sea of Innocence was a vast expanse of ocean, and that it was a spectacular sight. But now, there wasn't even a single drop of water, and there was only a bottomless abyss below. So this is the Sea of Innocence? Said Long Outyen in a daze. Lord Jiu frowned slightly as he looked at the bottomless abyss in front of him. However, he could not see the other side at all. Little Treasure sniffed the surroundings and growled from time to time. Grandpa Daddy, your son will scout the way for you, Chu Yuxuan said faintly. You seemed really cold and aloof. Lord Jiu and Long Outyen seemed to have gotten used to being called Chu Yuxuan. Long Outyen shook his head. Forget it. Meng Meng hugged Long Yang and let out a light breath. A woman just wanted to find a stable home. However, ever since she came to this world, she never had a stable home. Long Outyen looked at his wife beside him. He knew what his wife was thinking. She also wanted to find a home and live a peaceful life. But that Wuxia Empire, it was said that it was located in the northernmost part of the continent. However, they had only reached the center of the continent. Furthermore, the north didn't have such good weather and it was extremely cold. Are we really going to that Wuxia Empire? Can't we go to other cities? Meng Meng asked in a low voice. Actually, Meng Meng didn't really care where they were going. She mainly wanted to settle down. However, Long Outyen also had his own ideas. He wanted to find a safe place where they didn't have to move around. Long Outyen hugged onto his wife's shoulder and said in a low voice, Meng Meng, you can be at ease, there is still quite a distance to go. They all say that Wuxia Empire is like heaven on earth, and after we reach there, we will be able to live a good life. We don't have to live this kind of wandering life anymore. Lord Jiu didn't think so because whenever he heard the word Wuxia, he would immediately associate it with Wuxia realm. However, Lord Jiu was also thinking in his heart, it shouldn't be such a coincidence, right? To be able to meet with Wuxia realm in such a place, it doesn't exist. Therefore I can go and take a look. Lord Jiu rubbed onto Xiao Bao's head, and Xiao Bao wagged his tail happily. To Xiao Bao, as long as there was a place with an owner, that place would be home. Chu Yuxuan could be seen flying straight into the abyss, causing Long Outyin to cry out in surprise. Lord Jiu held onto his forehead and asked helplessly in a low voice, "Outyin, what kind of acupuncture technique is that? You still haven't finished researching it?" "I can give it a try." Meng Meng rolled her eyes at her husband. "It's best if you don't give it a try. Just now, you made others look like a child, then you made others look like a cold person. If you were to poke them again, what would you do if they end up sounding like an old man?" "That's right, Daddy, Big Brother Yuxuan is actually quite pitiful, don't keep poking others." Even Long Yang was pleading for Chu Yuxuan. Right now, Chu Yuxuan has already stopped his acupuncture technique, don't let him have a bad habit anymore. Long Outyin let out a long sigh. That acupuncture technique is too difficult. However, what my wife and child said is right, if he were to have a bad habit again, it would be even more troublesome. Right now, this acupuncture technique is still considered to be obedient. Suddenly, Xiao Bao actually barked toward the abyss, and this caused everyone to be on guard. A ferocious aura immediately spread out from the abyss, and everyone immediately retreated. Long Outyin and Lord Jiu slightly bent their bodies, ready to fight at any moment. Meng Meng carried Long Yang and stood behind the two. Xiao Bao stood beside Lord Jiu and bared his fangs, and his gaze was also very ferocious. 3 figures could be seen rushing out from the abyss, and one of them was naturally Chu Yuxuan. The other 2 were dressed in armor and looked just like Imperial guards. At the very least, Long Outyin and Lord Jiu could tell that Chu Yuxuan was very strong. However, the fact that these 2 soldiers were able to suppress Chu Yuxuan left them puzzled. "Who are you people? How dare you intrude into the Sea of Innocence?" One of the Imperial guards shouted coldly. Chu Yuxuan snorted coldly, "Sea of Innocence. Show me a drop of seawater." The 2 Imperial guards glanced at each other, then shouted angrily, "Audacious! You actually dare to disrespect the Sea of Innocence. You deserve to die." After speaking, the 2 Imperial guards launched a new round of attacks. Under the pincer attack of the 2, Chu Yuxuan seemed to be a bit powerless. The other party was indeed very strong. Chapter 1271. Long Outyin hurriedly shouted, "You've misunderstood. We didn't do it on purpose. We just wanted to cross the Sea of Innocence. We didn't have any other intentions." Following Long Outyin's shout, the 2 bodyguards slowed down their attacks, allowing Chu Yuxuan to recover. For Chu Yuxuan, these 2 bodyguards were still very strong. If it was a 1v1, it would be fine. However, fighting 2 of them would be very disadvantageous for him. The cooperation between the 2 of them was also flawless. Their battle prowess was doubled. "Why are you crossing the Sea of Innocence? Why are you going north?" one of the guards asked. Jiu Yi shouted, "We're going to the Wuxia Empire in the north." "Wuxia Empire?" the guard said in a low voice. His expression gave Long Outyin and Jiu Yi a bad feeling. Could it be that there was some conflict between these guards and the Wuxia Empire? They didn't have any conflict, but they'd heard of the Wuxia Empire. They'd heard that it was a good place, but at the same time, there was a bone dragon there. This bone dragon was said to be the one that hadn't died completely. As for whether or not that was true, they didn't know. "Yes, we're going there to settle down," Long Outyin said. The 2 guards stopped. Long Outyin hurriedly called Chu Yuxuan back. Chu Yuxuan knew that he wasn't their match, so he quickly returned. However, Jiu Ye's golden retriever was still barking. Jiu Yi patted Xiao Bao's head, but Xiao Bao seemed very stubborn and kept barking at the 2 guards. "Woof woof woof," his barking echoed throughout the abyss. "If you can't fly, you can't cross this place," one of the guards suddenly said. The Sea of Innocence was ridiculously wide. An ordinary flight would take at least a month, and that was the kind of flight that didn't stop. That's why the guard kindly reminded them that they'd probably lose all of their battle energy before even flying for a day. Then they'd fall to the bottom of the abyss and die. Long Outyin and Jiu Yi naturally knew how to fly, but Meng Meng and Long Yang couldn't, and Xiao Bao couldn't either. Carrying them, they definitely wouldn't be able to fly. "Little brother, is there any other way to cross?" Jiu Yi asked in a pleading tone. "In the past you could take a boat, but now, there's really no other way. You should just return," the guard said indifferently, then left. After the 2 guards left, the group didn't say anything. They were all filled with helplessness. "Dad, who were those people just now?" Long Yang asked curiously. In this plane, people could grow up quickly. Long Yang was like this now. Lord Jiu said in a low voice, "These people are probably from Water City." "That's right. I heard that there's a water city beneath the Sea of Innocence, but I'm afraid it'll have to be renamed. It won't be called Water City anymore, said Long Out Yin helplessly. Was it really impossible to go there? Dad, what's that called? Long Yang asked curiously. Little brother, this place should be called Deep Abyss City, Chuyuxuan said coolly. However, a voice suddenly rang out. Abyss City, what a nice name. Everyone immediately looked up and saw a figure floating in the air. He was dressed in a luxurious robe, and it was obvious that he was a disciple of a rich family. The person who came was Qi Shuwen. As for why he came, it was because he heard the dog barking. As far as Qi Shuwen knew, there was no such thing as a dog on this continent, so he came over to take a look out of curiosity. This is incredible, it's actually a golden fur. How is it possible for a golden fur to appear here? Long Out Yin and the others were also sizing him up, feeling very confused. Qi Shuwen slowly descended. He looked at Long Out Yin and Meng Meng, then at Lord Jiu, and a look of astonishment immediately appeared in his eyes. You're Lord Jiu? Qi Shuwen cried out in surprise. Back then Lord Jiu lived a very good life. Lord Jiu's photos were everywhere. Although Qi Shuwen never interacted with Lord Jiu, he still recognized Lord Jiu. If Xian Ba was here, he would definitely recognize Lord Jiu. After all, Lord Jiu was his superior. However, Lord Jiu didn't recognize Qi Shuwen. Lord Jiu was also puzzled that the man in front of him knew him. Long Out Yin was also very shocked. Could it be that this man in front of me is also a transmigrator? Is he the same as me? You are? Lord Jiu asked. Qi Shuwen smiled. I didn't expect to meet someone from the same hometown. My luck is really good. You all transmigrated here, right? My name is Qi Shuwen. Qi Shuwen was very enthusiastic to meet someone from the same hometown. He was an outsider in this world and he felt a sense of loneliness. Now that he met someone from the same hometown, that sense of familiarity instantly came. You also transmigrated here? My name is Long Out Yin, this is my wife Meng Meng, my child is Long Yang, and this child is Chuyuxuan. Long Out Yin introduced carefully. Qi Shuwen was very happy and asked curiously, how long have you all been here? Why did you all come here? Sai, we have been here for a period of time. Recently we were being chased after and we didn't have a safe place to stay. Thus we decided to go to Wuxia Empire. Lord Jiu said gravely. One had no choice but to lower one's head when under someone else's eaves. This was a plane where strength was respected. Being chased after? Who is chasing after us? Qi Shuwen said angrily. Chasing after my fellow townsmen, that means that they are going against me. Long Out Yin said helplessly, it's a power called Broken Meridian Sect, they are very powerful. So it's Broken Meridian Sect, they are indeed very powerful. However, since you all came to my water city, they definitely won't dare to do anything. Qi Shuwen patted on his chest and guaranteed. You are in Water City? Lord Jiu cried out in surprise. Water City is very powerful, I have heard about it on the way here. Qi Shuwen also felt a little proud. After all, Lord Jiu was very powerful in the past, but now I am doing even better. After I came over, I appeared in Water City. After working hard without any slack, I can still say a few words in Water City now. Long Out Yin said with a faint smile. Lord Jiu gave a thumbs up. Youngsters here are truly incredible. As long as they are given the chance, they will be able to soar into the sky. How about following me to Water City? Qi Shuwen said passionately. He walked in front of Xiao Bao and patted Xiao Bao's head. At first, Xiao Bao was still very resistant, but when he saw Qi Shuwen's sincere gaze, he no longer resisted. Ao Yin, how about it? How about we go to Water City first? Lord Jiu came to Long Out Yin's side and said in a low voice. The current Long Out Yin was no longer the Long Out Yin of the past. The person in front of him was, after all, a stranger. When a fellow townsman met a fellow townsman, there would always be a blade on one's back. Out Yin. Meng Meng called out. In her heart, she didn't want to leave anymore. I heard that Water City is very powerful. If I am able to live in it, I will definitely be very safe. Long Out Yin looked at Lord Jiu and his wife, took a deep breath, walked in front of Qi Shuwen, cupped his hands and said, Then I will have to trouble you. Qi Shuwen turned his head and looked at Long Out Yin, patted Long Out Yin's shoulder and said, Don't worry, Water City will definitely be very safe. The Broken Meridian Sect will not dare to come. Chapter 1272. When Meng Meng heard this, she heaved a sigh of relief and said to her son, Yang, we finally have a home. Long Yang was very obedient. Long Out Yin looked at his wife and child and smiled. Although they didn't go to Wushu Empire, it was still good to come to this water city. Jiu Yi patted Xiao Bao's head and heaved a sigh of relief. These days of running for their lives, they were exhausted. Sometimes they really wanted to give up. Qi Shuwen brought everyone to the bottom of the Sea of Innocence. However, it couldn't be said to be at the bottom of the sea, it was just a city in a ditch. Of course they couldn't see what was below from the shore because it was really very very deep. Although there was no seawater, the water city was still magnificent. At the very least, when Long Outyin and Jiu Yi saw the water city, they were shocked. This was simply a combination of ancient and modern times. Dad, Mom, this place is so beautiful. Long Yang liked this city at first glance. He even spread his arms as if he wanted to hug the entire water city. Yeah, it's really beautiful, Meng Meng murmured, her eyes filled with shock. Long Outyin and Jiu Yi were the same. To Qi Shuwen a strange feeling rose. On Earth, Jiu Yi was stronger than me, but here I, Qi Shuwen, am the awesome one. Fellow townsmen, this is Water City. Qi Shuwen introduced. His status in Water City had risen. His father-in-law, who didn't approve of him in the past, was now starting to approve of him. Looking at the prosperity of Water City, one couldn't even see the end of it. It's really big. I feel that this should be better than Wushu Empire. This is really an eye-opener. I'm impressed. Jiu Yi cupped his hands. This young man actually did so well after transmigrating here while I, forget it. I came here because I was tired of that kind of life. If I wasn't tired of it, I wouldn't have come here. Qi Shuwen said modestly, you flatter me. Everyone please follow me. Long Outyin saw that there were actually interstellar cannons on the city walls. He was amazed. Just what kind of city was this? After entering the city, Long Outyin saw the true prosperity of Water City. His eyes brightened. The guards here were really strong. There are 3 big families in Water City. I'm now a member of the Bao family. Hearing Qi Shuwen's words, everyone instantly understood. It turned out that he was going to marry into his family. After all, his surname was Bao. However, this was also someone else's ability. This was not something that could be obtained through envy. Long Outyin laughed and said, Brother Qi's wife must be very beautiful. Ugly woman. I'm just an ugly woman. Qi Shuwen said modestly. My wife is Water City's #1 beauty. Of course, everyone knew that Qi Shuwen was being modest, so they just smiled and said nothing. The Bao family was still so big. Although the eldest son died in the last battle, it still couldn't stop the Bao family's development. Long Outyin and the others were shocked as well. As expected of one of the top 3 families in Water City. The scale of the family was really shocking. Husband. At this moment, Bao Yu walked over from the front hall with a smile, looking at the person behind her husband. Long Outyin and the others took a look at Abalone. How is this an ugly woman? She looks so good. She is truly an exceptionally beautiful woman. Sharky, let me introduce you. These are my fellow countrymen, Qi Shuwen said happily. Abalone seemed to be very hospitable and revealed a light smile. Hello everyone, quickly come into the hall and chat. Seeing that Abalone didn't put on any airs, everyone let out a sigh of relief. Generally speaking, big families would look down on others a bit. However, the people from the Bao family seemed to be quite easy to get along with. Come in everyone, Sharky will get people to serve tea, prepare the dishes and also a room. Qi Shuwen laughed lightly. Alright everyone, I will take my leave first. Abalone said in a low voice. Sorry to disturb you all. Jiu Yi revealed a kind smile. This couple is really hospitable. Qi Shuwen said generously, what's there to disturb, come? Don't be polite, it isn't easy to live outside. Long Outyin nodded his head, it was indeed not easy to live outside. Everyone sat in the hall and the tea was served very quickly. Abalone didn't disturb everyone's chat and went to prepare the dishes personally, causing Long Outyin and the others to panic. Isn't she being too hospitable? She wouldn't kill us and turn us into barbecued pork buns, right? Everyone, you can stay here in the future. The Bao family has a lot of houses and you and I are very bored. Qi Shuwen chuckled and beckoned Little Bao over. Little Bao looked at Lord Jiu and Lord Jiu nodded. Only then did Little Bao slowly walk to Qi Shuwen's side and squat down. Qi Shuwen gently stroked Xiao Bao's head. A long time ago he also had the thought of feeding a dog. At that time he wanted to feed a Samoyed, but he didn't have the time, so he spent all his time cultivating. There was no dog breed here. Now that he saw a golden retriever he felt a lot of emotions. If you want to say which plane is better, Qi Shuwen wanted to say that it is still my home that is better, but I was forced to come over. Hearing Qi Shuwen's suggestion, of course, everyone was embarrassed to agree. Perhaps he was just being polite. There's no need for that. That would be too much trouble for you, Long Outyin quickly said. However, Long Yang pouted and said, Daddy, Mommy and I like it here. Grandpa, Dad, I like it here too, Qi Yushuan said. Long Outyin and Lord Jiu felt awkward. Qi Shuwen looked at everyone and said with a smile, All right, it's decided then. You guys don't have to be so polite anymore. Long Outyin and Lord Jiu looked at each other. Lord Jiu smiled, Then we'll do as you say. In the future you don't have to be restrained anymore. In this world you still have to properly cultivate. Qi Shuwen said lightly. Ever since the Sea of Innocence lost its seawater, I can no longer absorb draconic energy. I have to think of a way. Long Outyin nodded his head. Indeed, if I were as strong as Death Assassin, I wouldn't have to bring my wife and child and run away. Strength is still very important. However, Lord Jiu didn't think so. Strength is indeed important, but it isn't everything. I just want to bring little Bao along and live out my later years in peace, away from those disputes. However, those disputes always come looking for me, so it's very annoying. That's right, strength is still the key. Long Outyin said in a low voice. In the future, when everyone cultivates together, we can also compare notes with each other. Qi Shuwen said with a faint smile, teasing little Bao from time to time. After a long while everyone was chatting, Abalone walked in with a smile on her face. Husband, everyone, it's time to eat. Qi Shuwen stood up and said with a smile, Everyone, let's go and fill our stomachs and have a good rest. Chapter 1273. Thank you, brother. Long Outyin also felt at ease. Since I did not go to Wushu Empire, this place is also a good choice. Long Outyin and Jiu Yi have settled down in Water City. If I go to Wushu Empire, I should be even more shocked or even sullen. After all, back then I was still Yi Hua's love rival and I was messed up by Yi Hua. However, if not for Yi Hua, I wouldn't have met the current Meng Meng and I wouldn't have my son. Therefore, Long Outyin still had to thank Yi Hua for letting him meet such a cute girl. As long as one is willing to work hard, the heavens will see, then give a bit of charity and then continue to live a bitter life. After all, I have already gotten used to it. Right now, Yi Hua was chatting with Ren Yao, wanting to know more about the Guardians. Ren Yao sat opposite to Yi Hua and seemed a bit restrained, mainly because she was afraid of being beaten up. If I didn't stomp that eye into a poached egg, I wouldn't be so passive. However, even if I didn't, the ending would still be the same. To Yi Zizi, it was just the difference between one punch and two punches. Ren Yao, how many guardians do you have in total? In Yi Hua's knowledge, there were a total of 4 guardians. The first one was that Su Jiao, the second one was that woman called Xing Tsang that he met in God's realm, and the last one was the one that his little brother met right now. Ren Yao pursed her lips and said softly, Your Honor, I really don't know about this. Then what do you know? Yi Hua knew that Ren Yao wasn't lying to him, that Su Jiao didn't remember anything either. However, speaking of which, why did these guardians lose their memories all at once? Just what kind of secret is hidden here? I feel that it should be a very big secret. After all, the strength of these guardians are all very powerful. I only know my name and nickname. Ren Yao said embarrassedly. She knew why Yi Hua came over to ask her. Although Yi Hua knew that this fellow would say that, there was still a bit of hope. Then, don't you have a place that you want to go to? In your subconscious? Yi Hua asked curiously. That Su Jiao seemed to have said that. Ren Yao swallowed her saliva. What does his honor mean by this? Is he chasing me away? Or could it be that he has another purpose? Strange, this is simply too strange. No. Ren Yao chose to stay. The outside world was very dangerous. Who knew if she would meet another group of powerful people? If that happened, she would die and become a prisoner again. It was great to live here. There was food, water, and protection from some big shots. There was no need to worry about anything else. Yi Hua let out a light sigh. I really came here for nothing. Do you have any thoughts? Inform me, understand? Yi Hua said gravely. Yes, I will, Ren Yao said respectfully. Thoughts? That didn't exist. How could he have such thoughts? Yi Hua left helplessly. I keep having the feeling that these guardians aren't good people, and it's only because they lost their memories that they became good people. Perhaps he was a very bad person. These 4 guardians, 3 males and 1 female, are there any other guardians? He was a little frustrated. Returning back to his bedroom, Donghuang Baiji was currently pruning a potted plant in the garden. Yi Hua felt that recently the women in the guild, have they become bored to this extent? All of the women in the guild are pruning plants. Yi Hua, did you manage to get anything out of him? Donghuang Baiji, who was currently pruning, asked lightly. Yi Hua sat in the pavilion at the side and said indifferently, "Nope. It's fine if you don't have anything. What will come, we just have to be prepared to fight against him." Dong Huang Baiji appeared to be very confident and relaxed. "I was still very worried a while ago, but for some reason I am now confident again." Yi Hua drank a mouthful of the tea that the Empress brewed and said faintly, "I like to be in control of everything, and I never do things that I am not confident in. Everything is in control of everything, what else is there to be fun about?" Dong Huang Baiji, who was seriously pruning, said lightly. This sentence of hers was rather similar to Yi Hua's imposing manner. After hearing that, Yi Hua went into a daze. When did you have such a thought? Wasn't it taught by you? Didn't you always say that once you know everything, there wouldn't be any more surprises?" Dong Huang Baiji said softly. After hearing what Dong Huang Baiji said, Yi Hua suddenly woke up. "Recently I seem to have changed a bit. I don't really like surprises anymore. This is a very serious matter. It is fortunate that Dong Huang Baiji reminded me, if not, I would have lost myself. That wouldn't be fun anymore." "That's right, surprises. I won't go and investigate," Yi Hua said with a slight smile. He immediately relaxed, and he felt that the tea had become much more fragrant and sweet. Dong Huang Baiji laughed, then turned her head and looked towards Yi Hua. "This is how your honor should be, magnanimous." Yi Hua raised up his thumb towards the Empress. "As expected of my woman, she is becoming more and more understanding. I wonder what the other three are doing right now. Are they accompanying mother to play outside? Are they really not coming back?" Yi Hua immediately contacted Qin Yutong. "Brother-in-law, do you have any instructions for me? Are you missing sister-in-law?" Qin Yutong was still the same as before, teasing her brother-in-law. Yi Hua even heard Qin Yi saying, "Yutong, can you speak properly?" "I can't." When Yi Hua heard the two sisters quarreling, a smile appeared on his face. "I haven't heard their voices for a very long time, and I do miss them quite a bit." "Where are mother and Yuqing?" Yi Hua asked curiously. Qin Yutong said, "They went to the toilet." "Are you two still bringing mother to play outside the country?" Yi Hua asked curiously. "These two sure are playful, the kind that doesn't even know that they are coming back." Qin Yi said lightly, "No, we are currently resting in the service area." "Service area? Are you two on the highway?" "That's right, we are bringing mother to Shirley Art Gallery to play. The scenery there is great, mother wants to go and have a look." "I have never been there before." Yi Hua pouted his mouth. "I have been living in Gaohai City all this time, and I have never left that place before. It is even more impossible for me to go on a vacation." "Brother-in-law, you can also come over now, we can go on a vacation together." "Oh, big sister, why did you hit me?" Qin Yi said tenderly. "Yi Hua, if you are done with your matters, come and play with us. Actually, mother also wants you to accompany her. If you are busy, then forget it." Yi Hua wrinkled his brows. "I am pretty much done with my matters recently. How about I go and play with you too? We haven't really traveled together much." "Aya, that's great, call the Empress over as well, let's play together." Qin Yutong laughed happily. Qin Yutong also wanted to travel together with Yi Hua. "Alright, wait for me for a while." Yi Hua decided it's good to go and relax. Chapter 1274. After ending the call, Yi Hua stood up and said, "Baiji, let's go and accompany mother to play for a few days." Yi Hua merely wanted to go and play for a few days. After all, there were still things that had not been completely settled here. What he was referring to was, of course, the matter regarding the guardian. "Are we heading over right now?" Dong Huang Baiji asked puzzledly. Yi Hua nodded his head, "And I will accompany my mother for a trip." "Is that so? Alright then, I'll go and change my clothes." "You should go and change too. What we're wearing now is a bit too exaggerated." Dong Huang Baiji took a look at the emperor gown that Yi Hua was wearing and the emperor gown that she was wearing. "It is very normal for us to be wearing the emperor gown here, but if we were to go to the other side it would be very abnormal." Yi Hua felt that Yi Hua was right. Such a way of dressing is indeed a bit exaggerated. He put on his black suit and that familiar feeling came. He felt that he hadn't worn a suit for a long time. As for Dong Huang Baiji, she had changed into a blue long skirt, and she looked very fairy-like. Coupled with that absolutely beautiful face of hers, tsk. Yi Hua was unable to describe what he saw. However, in Yi Hua's eyes he was already used to it, and he felt that it was nothing much. "Is it beautiful?" Dong Huang Baiji spun one round on the spot. In actuality, Dong Huang Baiji was indeed very beautiful, and Dong Huang Baiji also wanted Yi Hua to praise her. Every woman would want to hear such praises, even if they were old couples. Especially Yi Hua. After so many years, it was very rare for him to praise his wife for being beautiful. Yi Hua took a look, then said faintly, "Not bad." Dong Huang Baiji, meeting a man who didn't know how to speak was really embarrassing. But then again, only honest men wouldn't say sweet nothings. Scumbags would just run their mouths off. Dong Huang Baiji didn't expect Yi Hua to praise her beauty anymore. Dong Huang Baiji let out a deep sigh in her heart. "Let's go." Yi Hua didn't say anything. "I feel that the Empress should be having her period, and for her mood to be a bit erratic I am able to understand." The two of them disappeared on the spot. When they reappeared, they were already in the service area. Of course, they appeared in a place where there was no one. Looking at the service area in front of him and the big goods, Yi Hua actually had a feeling that he had returned home. Dong Huang Baiji also had the same feeling. Everything in front of her is so familiar. From afar, Yi Hua saw Qingya and the others, and when he saw his mother, Yi Hua smiled lightly. When Lu Jing saw that her son had come, she also appeared to be very happy. Just now, when she heard her daughter-in-law say that Yi Hua was coming, she still did not believe it. Now he believed it. "Mother." Yi Hua walked to the front of his mother and called out lightly. Lu Jing held onto Yi Hua's hand and said with concern, "You must have been very busy during this period of time. Have you settled everything?" "Mother, be at ease, everything has been settled." Yi Hua said lightly. "Is little Tian okay?" No matter how Lu Jing pretended not to know, she was still very worried about her youngest son. Yi Hua nodded his head. "Mother, you can be at ease. Xiao Tian is doing very well right now, and there is one more good news that I want to tell you." "Happy occasion?" Lu Jing was puzzled. Even Qingya and the others who were beside him were puzzled. "Could it be that you found another woman?" Qingya immediately looked towards Dong Huang Baiji. Qingya seemed to be saying, "Why didn't you look after Yi Hua properly and let him bring a woman home from outside?" Dong Huang Baiji shook her head, indicating that she was not talking about this matter. In actuality, she knew what Yi Hua wanted to talk about. Gongyu is pregnant with little Tian's child. Yi Hua laughed lightly. "This should be a happy occasion, right?" Sure enough, when Lu Jing heard this news, she instantly revealed a happy expression. "Really? Gongyu is pregnant with little Tian's child?" "That's right, Gongyu is currently resting in the palace. In a few more months the child will be born." "This is great, little Tian is going to be a father." Lu Jing was very happy. This was the happiest thing that she had ever heard. "My eldest son and youngest son both have children, my life can finally be considered to be perfect." Yi Hua let out a breath and decided to tell them about this matter. "There is another bad news," Yi Hua said gravely. Sure enough, when Yi Hua said this, Lu Jing, who was extremely happy just a moment ago, became nervous. Qingya and the others couldn't stand Yi Hua anymore. Can't he just tell us everything in one go? To actually give us good news and bad news at the same time. "Did something happen?" Lu Jing asked nervously. Yi Hua said regretfully, "Yi died." Sure enough, when everyone heard this news, their expressions immediately became grave. In actuality, Lu Jing quite liked that child. Yi is kind-hearted and doesn't have any schemes. What happened previously was all a misunderstanding, and Lu Jing was even thinking that if Yi became her daughter-in-law, that would be pretty good too. But now Yi actually died? Chen Yuqing was also very shocked. Wasn't Yi going through her tribulation just now? After going through her tribulation, Yi became a god. How did she die just like that? Qing Yutong asked confusedly. "Brother-in-law, wasn't he very powerful? How did this happen?" Yi Hua didn't explain too much and said in a low voice, "She died because she was trying to save someone." Although there wasn't a process, Lu Jing seemed to have understood. Yi is a kind-hearted girl, it is little Tian who let her down. Yi Hua nodded his head. "For this matter I, the Supreme Overlord, also have an unshirkable responsibility. Don't tell little Tian about this matter, it will be fine as long as we know about it," Yi Hua warned. Wasn't the reason why little Tian went to train this time for the sake of Yi? If the obsession in little Tian's heart was gone, little Tian wouldn't be able to be happy for the rest of his life. Qingya said disappointedly, "However, paper can't wrap up fire. One day little Tian will know about it as well. Let's talk about it when the time comes." Yi Hua let out a breath. The trip that was supposed to be a joyous one, along with Yi's death, became a bit dull. Dong Huang Baiji wanted to tell Yi Hua to talk about this matter after the trip. "Alright, where are you guys planning to go?" Dong Huang Baiji changed the topic and asked. Qingya knew what Dong Huang Baiji meant and said, We are planning to go to Yangshuo County. What are we waiting for then? Let's go. Dong Huang Baiji said tenderly as she held onto Lu Jing's arm. Lu Jing let out a light sigh and sat on the alfaro that was at the side. Yihua saw that the people around him actually took out their phones and started taking pictures. It can't be helped. Who asked these women to be so beautiful? It would be a pity if I don't take care of them. However, when everyone saw Yihua sitting on the alfaro, they all felt that it was a pity. There are so many beautiful women here, and yet, a man actually got on top of them. The heavens really don't have eyes. This is truly heartache. Qing Yutong drove the car. At this moment, Lu Jing said in a low voice, after we finish here, I will go back and take care of Gong Yu. After all, I am pregnant right now. Yihua went into a daze for a moment, then said, Mother, there is someone taking care of Gong Yu. How can that person be taken care of by me? Mother, I am also worried if something happens to little Tian's child. Lu Jing was incomparably worried. Yi is already gone, I have to properly take care of this child. Chapter 1275. After hearing that, Yihua didn't say anything. I know what my mother means, I'll just let my mother go. Qingya asked curiously, Yihua, what exactly happened when we were not around? It's a bit troublesome, I'll tell you when I go to the hotel tonight. Yihua said lightly. He didn't want his mother to worry about him. After all, the current crisis has not been completely eliminated yet. After hearing that, Qingya became heavy. For Yihua to say that it's troublesome, it should be a big problem. After arriving at the hotel, Lu Jing needed to rest for a bit. And when the four women arrived at Yihua's room, Qingya and the others wanted to hear what exactly happened. Yihua, what exactly happened? Qingya sat at the bedside and lightly held onto Yihua's hand. She felt that Yihua seemed to be very tired. Yihua told the three women about what happened, and the three women went into a daze. So many things happened during these few days. Fortunately, all of Yihua's subordinates have gathered together, and this can be counted as a good news. However, why does Qingya feel that Yi's death seems to be caused by the fight between Yihua and that palace master? The fight between the two actually destroyed the entire plane. Just how terrifying is that? Wei Chang still has such a brain, not bad, he deceived all of us. Qingya sighed. After hearing that, Yihua smiled helplessly. That's right, this Wei Chang is indeed ruthless this time, he deceived all of us. Chen Yuqing asked gravely, Yihua, just who is that fortune teller? To actually be able to predict the ending thousands of years ago. He might just be making things up. Qing Yutong felt that Yihua was just a scammer. Qingya immediately knocked on her head. Then why don't you make something up for Big Sister to see? Qing Yutong pouted her mouth and said petulantly, Big Sister, I'm so stupid, it's all because you knocked on my head. As for what this fortune teller is, we might find out in the future. Yihua said faintly. This should be counted as a surprise, I wonder if it will be a scare or not. Dong Huang Baiji said in a low voice, Right now, the main problem is still with the guardian. Qingya nodded her head. This matter cannot be looked down upon. Yihua stood up and walked to the balcony at the side. Looking at the mountain outside, he said faintly, Let's talk about these things after we return, we came out this time to relax. Qingya hugged Yihua from behind and said tenderly, Let's face this together when we return. Yihua held onto Qingya's small hand, and a trace of a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Next, Yihua listened to Qingya and the others talk about the interesting things that happened during the past few days. 1 hour later, Yihua prepared to bring his whole family to Shirley Art Gallery to play. However, he heard from the tour guide that it would be better to rent a scooter, that way it would be more convenient. After walking into a shop that had a lot of people at the roadside, before they even entered the shop, an auntie ran over. Handsome guy, beautiful girl, have you bought the tickets yet? I have cheap tickets here. Does Yihua look like someone who lacks money? That doesn't exist. However, the auntie was a bit persistent as she chased after Yihua and said, The tickets for this hot air balloon are the lowest in the entire venue, 80 yuan per person. Bring the lady up to experience it, there are also helicopters and so on. Do you need me to say it a second time? Yihua's temper immediately flared up, and his gaze turned cold. The auntie could feel that Yihua's gaze was not good, and immediately ran away. Under normal circumstances, Yihua wouldn't act like this, but he was a bit annoyed in his heart, and thus he wasn't able to control himself. Yihua, that's enough. It's not easy for others, just talk nicely. Lu Jing said in a low voice. Yihua didn't say anything and nodded his head. Mother's words are still useful. If it was Qingya's words, then I would have directly ignored it. This was the difference between a mother and a wife. "Boss, do you want to eat something?" A big sister ran over and asked with a smile. "Do you have any signature dishes here?" Yi Hua asked faintly while holding onto the menu. "We have beer fish here, all of them are local fish. We also have lotus leaf chicken, bamboo tube chicken, etc. What do you want to order?" Yi Hua was too lazy to look at the menu and said faintly, "Give me a bit of all of them." This caused the lady boss to be a bit stupefied. "How much is a bit? What if I give too much and I'm not satisfied?" Chinya took over the menu and said with a slight smile, "Give me a serving of all of these signature dishes. The fish must have no bones." "Alright, please wait for a moment." The lady boss immediately went to prepare the dishes. Seeing that Yi Hua's expression wasn't very good, Chinya said tenderly, "Yi Hua, since you are already out to play, just be happy." Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up, then said faintly, "I understand." Chapter 1276. After taking out a stick of cigarette and lighting it up, Yi Hua leaned against the chair. His gaze was still a bit grave, not knowing why. "I keep thinking about the curse of the palace master." However, upon thinking about the curse of the palace master, Yi Hua wished that he could scold himself. The curse of a defeated opponent, why should I be afraid? Thinking about it, Yi Hua wasn't concerned about the curse of the palace master. Rather, he was concerned about the person who placed the curse on the palace master. After all, tens of thousands of years ago, the palace master knew that he was going to die and said those words before he died. Is it true or false? Is that fortune teller that awesome? Or could it be, he is just bluffing? This made me a bit vexed. Originally, I wanted to use this trip to relax and not think about this problem, but I discovered that I am basically unable to get rid of this problem. "Yi Hua, why is your expression so strange?" Qian Yuqing asked worriedly. She discovered that Yi Hua's expression was a bit strange. Yi Hua shook his head, expressing that he is fine. "How can I possibly be scared? That is something impossible." Lu Jing suddenly asked, "Yi Hua, are you afraid of something?" Along with Lu Jing's words, everyone went into a daze. In the eyes of Qinya and the others, would Yi Hua be afraid? Yi Hua is that kind of fellow who is not afraid of anything. The word, afraid, doesn't exist in his heart at all. Thus, they didn't think that Yi Hua was afraid. However, Yi Hua suddenly came to a realization. "I'm actually afraid." Yi Hua's breathing became a bit hurried. "Why would I have such an emotion? I have felt afraid in the past, but that kind of fear was because I was afraid of losing them. The quarrel at the beginning was very vexing. But what am I afraid of? Am I afraid of death?" Yi Hua wasn't afraid of death. When a person has someone to rely on, they wouldn't dare to easily die. Yi Hua was afraid of what would happen to his mother after he died, what would happen to Qinya and the others, what would happen to his children, and what would happen to his subordinates. However, Yi Hua didn't know what was going on in his mind and was currently thinking about his own emotions. "I feel that I am losing face. I am actually afraid. What the hell?" "The dishes are here, boss. Enjoy slowly." The passionate lady boss could be seen serving the dishes. Qin Yutong obediently placed the bowls and chopsticks on the table. Yi Hua let out a sigh of relief and hurriedly threw away that feeling of fear. Afterward, I thought to myself, that doesn't exist. It's impossible for me to be afraid. Who else in this world can defeat me? This beer fish is not bad. Yi Hua, try it. Lu Jing picked up a piece of fish and passed it to her son. Yi Hua squeezed out a smile, a very ugly smile. To actually make me the Supreme Overlord queue up. When did I, the Supreme Overlord, ever queue up? Recently, my temper hasn't been good. It's best if you don't make me queue up. If not, I will make you, this hot air balloon, explode. Yi Hua, sit down, I will give you a massage. Qinya said tenderly. She knew that Yi Hua was currently very angry, so she planned to use tenderness to let Yi Hua cool down. Yi Hua sat down helplessly and accepted Qinya's kind intentions. Qian Yuqing, who was at the side, even placed Yi Hua's legs onto her body and lightly massaged them. This kind of treatment made everyone at the side stupefied. Is this even possible? Lowering his head and looking at his body. Why is the difference between my legs and my girlfriend's legs so big? After waiting for around 40 minutes, Yi Hua brought along his mother and wife and walked into the venue. Afterward, Qinya and the others sat on the hot air balloon. Qinya and the others, on the other hand, were very happy. However, after ascending for less than a minute, Yi Hua felt that he was descending, and he immediately became unhappy. I have waited for 40 minutes painstakingly down there, yet you just let me stand here for 1 minute. Seeing that Yi Hua was about to flip out, the wives could only comfort Yi Hua. How big is this matter? Yihua is getting more and more calculative. Yihua rubbed his forehead, then walked down from the hot air balloon and said gravely, "In the future, don't let me sit on this thing trash." Lu Jing smiled helplessly after hearing this, and the other wives also shook their heads. His temper was really bad. Other than them, who else could stand it? Originally, Yihua still wanted to go and experience the glider that was at the side, but after thinking about it, if I wait for half an hour and stroll around on the glider for a few minutes, wouldn't I be making a huge loss? Isn't it great for me to fly up there and take a look? I don't even need to queue up. Let's go and take a look at the other things. Yihua said gravely and directly sat behind the Empress. Because the car was rather short, and Yihua was rather tall, Yihua's sitting posture was rather funny. Other people don't even have the time to laugh, and Yihua is actually still angry. When did I get angry? Don't talk nonsense. Okay. You're not angry. Let's go eat some noodles. Yihua nodded his head and decided to go and have a taste. After quite a while, Yihua looked at the bowl of river snail rice noodles in front of him, and a strange stench was being emitted out from it. Yihua's brows were already wrinkled very deeply. Lu Jing covered her mouth and chuckled. It was obvious that this was a prank. Yihua said gravely, "Qinya, is this the delicacy that you were talking about?" "Yihua, this is the same principle as stinky tofu. Why don't you try it? It is actually very fragrant." Qinya laughed while covering her mouth. Yihua didn't believe that the stench of stinky tofu was different from this. This stinky tofu smelled just like *T. I don't have any appetite anymore. Yihua said gravely, then directly walked out of the restaurant. It doesn't matter whose face is anymore. Qinya was prepared to chase after Yihua, but Lu Jing stopped her. "Let him walk by himself," Lu Jing said in a low voice. Yihua needed to be alone to calm down. Yihua indeed needed to be alone to calm down. My mind is a bit messy. I really want to find someone to talk to, but if I talk to my wife, it makes me seem like I am very weak. If I talk to my subordinates, it makes me, the boss, look like I am very weak. If I talk to my children, where would I, the supreme overlord as a father, have any face left? "Handsome guy, our bar is having a discount today, and there is even a famous DJ." A sexy lady said towards Yihua. Her eyes were filled with admiration. Such a handsome man. Yihua turned his head and looked towards the bar at the side. The bar was very noisy. Yihua didn't like this kind of bar. Yihua liked a quiet bar. Under the lady's deathly gaze, Yihua walked away. Yihua, who was walking within the crowd, was still so eye-catching. Along the way there were a lot of ladies who tried to strike up a conversation with him, but Yihua just had a scowl on his face, not giving any face to anyone. Fortune-telling. Suddenly, a voice made Yihua stop his footsteps and look towards an old man who was at a corner at the side. The old man's face was yellow and wrinkled. Wearing sunglasses in the middle of the night, not placing a signboard beside him, and not even having a book. Truly incompetent. I have never believed in scammers like you. If I were to believe in scammers like you, then I would be an idiot. Handsome guy, isn't this fortune-telling? Yihua stopped his footsteps once again, then looked towards the fortune-teller and said coldly, "Are you able to tell my fortune?" Of course. Yihua didn't like arrogant people, thus he decided to properly teach this scammer a lesson. "Tell me then. Tell me about my troubles." Yihua sat on a small stool opposite of the fortune-teller. A trace of a smile appeared on the corner of the fortune-teller's mouth. "Handsome guy, you are afraid in your heart." Hearing that, Yihua's face sunk. "Who are you? Seems like my fortune-telling is correct," the fortune-teller muttered. Yihua stretched out his hand and waved it in front of the fortune-teller's eyes. "Handsome guy, my eyes are blind but my heart is not blind." Yihua didn't say anything and continued asking, "Do you think that I will die?" All living beings in the world will die one day, no matter who it is. They will not be able to escape from the cycle of reincarnation. Didn't you die once already? Yihua's expression stiffened, then killing intent emerged from his body. He stretched out his hand and tried to grab the fortune-teller. However, what he grabbed was the air. "Yihua, we will meet again. You often give people choices. When the time comes, I will also give you a choice." After finished speaking, the fortune-teller disappeared. Yihua shook his head. "I am actually sitting at the entrance of a shop. Just now, I was too careless. This damned fortune-teller, he actually entered when I was feeling guilty and uneasy. And he actually dares to boast shamelessly and let me choose. Only a child would make a choice." Yihua took a deep breath, took a look at the bar at the side, then walked into the bar. Perhaps only a sound that is a bit more stimulating would be able to make me sober up. Tonight's bill will be paid by young Master Yi. Following the DJ's shout, the crowd applauded. Yihua looked at the crowd silently, then shouted out, "Wife, come over and pay the bill." "Qingya, I am acting cool outside, and in the end I still have to let my wife pay the bill." Chapter 1278. Knowing that Yihua wasn't in a good mood, the wives were magnanimous and personally accompanied Yihua to play with him. Yihua felt that it was quite effective for me to pretend to be depressed. Needless to say, what a sensible wife, not bad, not bad. I, the Supreme Overlord, am very gratified right now. In the next few days, Yihua went to visit Lu Sanjia. I feel that Lu Sanjia's place is pretty good, just that there are a lot of people in Lu Sanjia's place. Luckily I booked the best ticket. I can sit at the top and watch the show. Not bad, not bad. Of course there was also the bamboo raft. Although all of the bamboo rafts are automatic right now and are no longer manually operated like in the past, but the mountain that is at the side looks pretty good. Feeling the breeze and leaning on my fragrant wife, this is the life of an immortal. This kind of life passed quickly. Lu Jing had originally planned to stay here for a long time, but Gong Yu was pregnant and he wanted to go back to take care of her. Yihua could also tell that his mother wasn't in the mood to travel. After playing for 4 days, everyone returned to Wuxia Empire. As soon as Lu Jing returned to the palace, she went to see Gong Yu, and so did Qingya. The treatment of pregnant women was indeed different. Gong Yu didn't expect that after she was pregnant, even her mother would be so attentive. She felt grateful for her mother. Yihua, on the other hand, was planning to move on to the next step of his plan, which was to complete the unfinished legendary weapon plan. Previously, because of what happened to his subordinates, he had stopped working on it. Now it had to be reopened. After all, the days were a bit boring. In actuality, Yihua also wanted to give himself a guarantee. That fortune teller's strength doesn't seem to be weak, to the extent that he was able to run away from me. Although at that time the fortune teller was only an afterimage, but at least the fortune teller was not discovered by me. Seems like this fortune teller is hiding in a corner, observing the main body. But so what? I still don't dare to show my face. This lousy fellow only knows how to hide in a corner and draw circles to curse me. What other abilities does he have? If he really had the ability, he would have already come out to fight me to the death. And you still dare to say that you want me to choose? Choose your sister. I, the Supreme Overlord, will only let others choose. I will never make my own choice. In order to obtain the detailed construction data, Yihua even made a trip to the God's realm to look for the current emperor of the demonic city. Jing Tian didn't expect that this man would appear again, and he was still afraid of Yihua. However, after hearing the reason why Yihua came, he still let out a breath of relief. However, Jing Tian did not dare to hide the details of the legendary weapon's creation and told him all the details. He even said that he would gift his parting fire to Yihua. However, Yihua rejected it fiercely. Are you looking down on me? Do you think that I, the Supreme Overlord, am unable to forge a legendary weapon? You are truly thinking too much. I want to create an existence that is even more powerful than a legendary weapon. Yihua had stayed in Demonic City for at least a month, and he had absorbed a lot of experience in forging legendary weapons. He just had to go back and operate it. However, the problem was that the materials had not been found yet. All of his subordinates had been sent out to search for the materials. The progress was still very slow, and it would take at least 10 years to complete. Yihua stood in front of the palace and looked at the sky above Wuxia Empire with a slightly worried look on his face. Being invincible is truly lonely. He missed the days of the little skeleton and how dangerous those days were. What are you thinking about? Chen Yuqing hugged onto Yihua's back and lightly leaned onto Yihua's tiger back. Yihua looked at the night sky and said faintly, "Sometimes I feel that it's really boring." Why do you suddenly have such a thought? Feel it. Chen Yuqing said tenderly, "Yihua, back then Qingya brought me to your bar and she even said that, from now on, we will be staying in the bar." That's right, the bar is indeed a quiet place and there are a lot of memories in there. Compared to the past, the memories in the bar are even more profound. Chen Yuqing lightly rubbed onto Yihua's back. Then from now on we will be staying there and I will peel crayfish for you. Did Qingya tell you that? Yihua laughed lightly. Peeling crayfish had now become a joke that they would only see every day. And Qingya and Baiji also talked about a lot of things. I feel that it would be great if I was also there during those few years. I have missed out on too much. Chen Yuqing said gloomily while pouting her small mouth. Yi Hua turned around and lightly hugged onto Chen Yuqing. In the future, you will not miss out on those things anymore. You are the one who said it. If you go back on your words, I will teach you a lesson. Yi Hua pinched onto Chen Yuqing's cheeks. Let's go, the party has just begun. Today was Chinese New Year's Eve, and Yi Hua gathered all of his subordinates. Of course, other than those who were out for training, none of them were present. This was already a tradition. On Chinese New Year's Eve, everyone would have a reunion dinner together and then have fun, celebrate and be happy. Your Honor, you went to the toilet for so long, could it be that you went to play with your wife? Lai Gu seemed to have already drunk a lot, and his mouth was starting to talk nonsense. As Yi Hua's mount, only Lai Gu would dare to tease Yi Hua like this. Under this kind of atmosphere, Yi Hua didn't really mind. Chapter 1279. However, the main point wasn't whether His Honor sang well or not, rather being able to listen to His Honor's voice while standing on top of the stage, that was already an unparalleled honor. Who cares if His Honor sang well or not? Although Yi Hua was very out of tune, he still managed to finish singing the song. His spirit of singing received the applause of his subordinates. Everyone had a thought in their minds. In the future, I better not let His Honor sing anymore. This is too scary, I might as well just dance awkwardly with His Honor. However, Yi Hua didn't seem to be satisfied and said faintly, I, the Supreme Overlord, sing another song, save. Everyone, His Honor, if you were to sing this song, then your subordinates would need to be saved. This is definitely not a joke. Yi Hua didn't know what his subordinates were thinking and immediately started singing. A few minutes later, seeing that His Honor walked down from the stage, everyone let out a sigh of relief and clapped until their hands turned red. Does it sound good? Yi Hua asked Qingya. The corner of Qingya's mouth twitched. Good, good. This is truly great, how about letting Yutong teach you? Yi Hua's face sunk. Qingya, are you saying that I, the Supreme Overlord, need someone to teach me if I don't sing well? How is that possible? Brother-in-law's singing skills are super great. Qing Yutong immediately smiled. Qingya shook her head. You all can just spoil him. Afterward, each of the subordinates went to sing a song. For example, Wei Chong, he actually started singing a song about love, not bad. Yi Hua felt that he was a bit lacking compared to me. Zishan was also singing a song of longing. She was definitely thinking about Yi Hong. I have already been away for half a year. This kind of experience isn't something that can be accomplished in 1 or 2 years, it should be at least 10 years. However, when Death Mage went up to sing, the entire place immediately quietened down. Seriously, if you want to laugh you have to be unable to hold it in. However, looking at Death Mage being so affectionate, if you were to laugh, it would be a bit impolite. However, Yi Zizi was the first one to laugh. Following Yi Zizi's laughter, the others finally couldn't hold it in anymore. Is it possible for a skeleton to not laugh when he sings with GGG, unless his face is stiff? At 12 o'clock, everyone arrived outside of the palace. When midnight arrived, beautiful fireworks blossomed in the sky of the entire voidless empire. In the past, there was no tradition of celebrating Chinese New Year, but from this year onwards, there was a tradition of celebrating Chinese New Year. Looking at the fireworks in the sky, a trace of a smile could be seen on the corner of Yi Hua's mouth. My New Year's wish is that I hope that the entire guild can be happy, and enjoy the joys of life, and let all of the enemies go to hell. 1 year after another. Time passed by in a hurry, but to people who learn martial arts, 12 years passed by very quickly. During these 12 years, everything was calm and peaceful. No one stirred up any trouble. Yi Hua had almost forgotten about the guardians. There was still that fortune teller who was researching on how to forge legendary weapons every single day. As a man, it was important to have his own interests and hobbies. However, the people who went out to train have yet to return. However, Yi Hua found out from Zhu Tian's mouth that those people were very strong right now, and that they would be returning soon. However, within the entire team, a young man also appeared. That was Gong Yu's child. From this name, it could be seen that Gong Yu seemed to have let go of a lot of things. Maybe Gong Yu was also apologizing for the things that happened in the past. At that time she had framed Yi too much. Yi was an obedient boy. Although he was only 12 years old, his achievements were extraordinary. At such a young age, he had already surpassed his mother's strength, and his looks were also inherited from his father and mother. In the future he would definitely be a very handsome person. Ever since Yi was born he had never seen his father. He had only seen his big uncle, big aunt, grandma, and big uncle's subordinates. However, the person that Yi wanted to see the most was his father, just that right now, his father had yet to return home. But hearing that his father was going to return home soon, Yi was very happy. I heard that I still have cousin brother and cousin sister, but I have never seen them before. My mother said that, when they were very young they were sent away by big uncle. Compared to my cousin brother and cousin sister, I am really lucky to be able to grow up by my mother's side. In actuality, Yi Hua was planning to send Yi away. Gong Yu had no choice and was unable to stop him, but Lu Jing was firmly against it. How can all the children be sent away? Yi Hua was unable to change his mother's mind and could only compromise. However, after so many years, other than Gong Yu who gave birth to a child, the others did not have any reaction at all. For example, Ju Tian and Brett, no matter what, they were unable to get a child. It was not only the two of them. Even Yi Hua and Chen Yuqing were unable to get pregnant. This caused Yi Hua to be very shocked. It must be that fortune teller who cursed me. Back then, I gave birth to one child at a time, and now I actually caused my wife to be unable to get pregnant. As a man, this is a shameful action. Even if Qing Su concocted medicine, he would not be able to solve the problem of population growth. Chen Yuqing was naturally very depressed. Why can't I get pregnant? At first, I thought that it was because of me and I was very worried, afraid that Yi Hua would not like me. After all, a woman not being able to give birth to a man's child, this is very hard to accept. However, later on she found out that Qing Yutong was also unable to get pregnant. Finally she felt relieved. It is not my problem, it is Yi Hua's problem. However, she did not dare to say such words. In the past, Qing Yutong did not want to have a child, and now that she wanted to have a child, she was unable to get pregnant. This caused Qing Yutong to be depressed every day. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji's consolation did not work. Right now, Yi Hua felt that he had to solve this pregnancy problem. Why is it that the entire party is unable to get pregnant? This shouldn't be a curse, it should be a problem with feng shui. Should I change a place to give birth? For example, go to a bar? After all, Ali and the others were all born in a bar. Yi Hua tried it, but in the end it was still useless. Seems like I, the Supreme Overlord, have to go and take a look at the andrology department. After 12 years of development, Wushu Empire was no longer that small empire in the past, and it had already expanded by a few times. If one were to walk through the entire Wushu Empire, it would take at least a month. From this, it could be seen just how big Wushu Empire was. Yi Hua also brought his own ideology into the empire, the coexistence of humans and other races. Although there were conflicts in the beginning, no one dared to go against Yi Hua. After all, no one wanted to go to the execution ground. With such a forceful method, the people from other races moved into the empire. It could be discovered that the humans were actually afraid of the other races, and the other races were also afraid of the humans, afraid that the other party would harm them. This kind of situation continued for a year, and after that, the situation became a lot better, and the humans were no longer that afraid of the other party. However, the people from other races didn't live separately, and Yi Hua considered that it was not realistic. Thus, he divided a piece of land for the people from other races to live in. All in all, the current situation was a good one. What was worth celebrating was that 1 year ago, a human male got married to a woman from another race. Chapter 1280. This caused a sensation in the entire Wushu Empire, and even Yi Hua was shocked. He personally attended the wedding and advocated for this method. He wanted to encourage, support, and even provide subsidies. The cost of the children's growth would all be borne by Wushu Empire. When this news came out, it indeed encouraged a lot of humans. However, there were some females of different races that were really hard to get along with. For example, the ox-head woman, her entire body was covered with brown fur, and no matter how beautiful she was, she still had horns on her head. This was an extremely challenging thing. Even with all kinds of benefits, there were very few who were able to get along with one another, and there was only one pair right now. To this man, other people were very envious of him. After all, he was marrying a fox. Although the fox's ears were furry, that only added to the cute atmosphere. Furthermore, no matter how bad the fox race was, the females were all beauties. Of course, the prerequisite was that you had to endure the fox odor. However, with Wushu Empire's strength, solving this problem was a piece of cake. Yi Hua even directly gave the order to help the fox race get rid of the fox odor for free. This was another benefit. Right now, there were still people who were dating, but they had not reached the stage of marriage. After all, this required time to get used to each other. Human ladies liked handsome men too, and the fox race was full of handsome men too. Human men liked beautiful women too, and the fox race was the best choice. Actually, in the human world, the fox race was more like slaves and they could be bought with money. Those who were rich all liked this type of people. The fox race naturally knew this point as well. In the process of interacting with humans, they were also very careful. If not for the emperor's decree, they wouldn't even dare to interact with humans. What Yi Hua gave was the female protection law. As long as the evidence was conclusive, the person who molested a woman would be directly beheaded. Knowing how ruthless the emperor was, no one dared to touch a woman, not even dared to use their hands. If they were to touch a woman, they would immediately die. This made the unmarried women of Wuxia Empire clap their hands. To them, Wuxia Empire was like a paradise. In this place they did not need to fear the nobles, and they also did not need to fear their enemies. This kind of feeling was super good. Yi Hua also advocated it. However, the evil Lai Gu was thinking, is it really good for humans and beasts to be together? Dong dong dong. Within Wuxia Empire's palace, the sound of smithing rang out in the emperor's bedroom. This sound had already rang out for 12 years, and the people in the palace were already used to it. The emperor had a hobby, and that was smithing. The children are finally coming back. Qinya said excitedly. After 12 years, Qinya had changed a little. This change wasn't because she had become old, rather she had become more mature. Her temperament and aura had also become very powerful. Right now, ordinary people wouldn't even dare to look straight into Qinya's eyes. Donghuang Baiji, who was sitting on the opposite side, revealed a smile on her face as well. That's right, it has been 12 years. Looking at the time, Ali should be 20 years old now, right? She should be a big girl now. The Empress was getting more and more beautiful. As expected, time could make a woman even more charming. For the past 12 years, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji really didn't even take a single look at the children. Of course, this was all because Yi Hua didn't allow them to do so, and the reason that Yi Hua gave them was very weird. Are you curious about what the children will be like after 12 years? Anyway, a few years have passed, so just bear with it. Every single time, Yi Hua would always use this sort of excuse, angering Qinya, Donghuang Baiji, and Yi Hua to sleep on separate beds. To be honest, even Yi Hua was curious about what the children had become. If it was possible, Yi Hua would be able to see the children at any time. However, Yi Hua didn't do that. In fact, he didn't even go and inquire about the children's whereabouts. Lu Jing had already told Yi Hua many times, how can there be a father like you, not seeing your children for more than 10 years? Towards the issue of children, Yi Hua was very persistent. I wonder what Yen'er has become. Qing Yutong supported her chin with both of her hands. Although a smile could be seen on the corner of her mouth, a hint of hesitation could be seen in the depth of her gaze. Qing Yutong calculated her age. I am already 30+ years old. I also want to have a child. Back then, I wanted to play around more, but now that I want to have a child, I am unable to give birth to a child. After 12 years, Qing Yutong had lost her immaturity, and she had become much more mature. She was no longer like how she was in the past. Back then she was just like a crazy girl. Chen Yu Qingmin, who was at the side, let out a light sigh as she drank her tea. The question in her mind was the same as Qing Yutong. I am so envious of Qinya and Baiji for having a son and a daughter with Yi Hua. Donghuang Baiji laughed. I am rather curious, did God Ye's personality change a little? That's right, there is also Lu Er's personality. Qinya was a bit worried. Yi Lu's personality is pretty much the same as God Ye's. The two ice lumps definitely inherited Yi Hua's personality. Yi Yan is much better, and of course there is also Ali. As long as I think that I will be able to see my children very soon, my heart will become extremely excited. They are already taller than me right now. Qinya stood up and gestured with a motherly radiance on the corner of her mouth. Qing Yutong and Chen Yu Qingmin were about to die of depression. These two freaks who are showing off their children these few days, they have been talking about their children this and that. What are the two of us, who are unable to get pregnant, going to do? Donghuang Baiji said lightly, look at this fellow, he doesn't seem to mind at all, he only knows how to forge iron every day, he might as well just sleep together with iron, he doesn't want to sleep together with us. Men, especially Yi Hua, don't seem to know how to express their feelings. In actuality, the longing in his heart was not any less than Qinya and Baiji. After all, they were all his children. Right now, Yi Hua was currently hammering a piece of black-colored iron sheet. Judging from the degree of hardness, this piece of iron sheet was not an ordinary iron sheet. After all, for Yi Hua to be able to be hammered by the black-colored iron sheet and not break it, It was sufficient to prove that the black-colored iron sheet wasn't broken. Yihua appeared to be very focused and also appeared to be very careful. This piece of metal is pure gold. In actuality, the degree of hardness of the pure gold was not that exaggerated. On the contrary, the pure gold was very fragile. If one did not control the pure gold properly, the pure gold would break. However, if one did not have enough strength, the pure gold would not be able to form the pure gold. This was the difficult part. Controlling one's own strength. To Yihua, this was not an easy thing to do. Thus, tiny beads of sweat could be seen appearing on Yihua's forehead. This piece of pure gold had already been forged for 5 years, and right now, the appearance of the pure gold had already reached the level that Yihua desired. It was a saber, but it was not an ordinary saber. The body of the saber was slender and much longer than the average saber, reaching 1 meter long. If the handle was added, it would be at least 1.2 meters long. In the future, when the heavenly flame was added, the color would change. This was also the most difficult step. This was because there was only one chance. If he failed, he might not be able to find the materials in a short period of time. Suddenly Yihua stopped. "Your Honor." Zhu Tian knelt at the side and shouted out respectfully. Yihua said gravely, "Zhu Tian, when I am forging, I need to concentrate." Subordinate was rash. Zhu Tian said apologetically. Chapter 1281. Yihua put down the hammer in his hand. However, when the hammer landed on the ground shook a bit. "The trainees are coming back?" Yihua asked faintly. In actuality, everyone knew about the situation of the people who went out to train. Right now, Yihua's improvement was very big, and he did not go out for nothing for the past 10+ years. It's just that Xiao Tian had lost an arm, and of course he had to pay the price in order to save someone. Yihua had a whole new level of respect for this little brother of his. The current Yi Juetian is calm and reserved, completely different from the previous Yi Juetian. This is a real man. There was responsibility, there was a sense of responsibility. Yi Juetian was the leader of that group of people who were going to train. Yihua was very gratified. My little brother has finally grown up. As for my broken arm, I can still think of a way to deal with it. No, it's just that Little Honor and the others are preparing to have a competition. Is Your Honor interested in going over to take a look? Spar? Yihua asked curiously. Zhu Tian nodded his head. That's right. From the reports, it seems that it will be a contest between the Meridian Breaking Sect and the Deity Institution. Little Senior is the representative of both sides, and also the trump card of both sides. I believe that Little Senior and the others will be able to encounter each other. After hearing that, Yihua became silent. The competition between the children seems to be a bit interesting. It is worth going to take a look at it. After so many years, I also want to see what they have learned. Originally, Yihua was still planning to hold a grand ceremony to welcome the children, but right now, the competition between the children seemed to be very important as well. From the looks of it, I have to change my plans. Alright, I understand. Yihua said faintly. Zhu Tian said lightly, Your Honor, subordinates also wish to go and take a look at Little His Honor. Yihua laughed. These subordinates who like to watch a good show. Approved. Zhu Tian was delighted. Thank you, Your Honor. You may leave. Yes. After Zhu Tian left, Yihua walked to the side and fetched a basin of water. After wiping the filth on his face and washing his hands, Yihua walked out of the bathroom. Seeing that the 4 women were sitting in the pavilion and chatting, Yihua walked towards his wives. However, Qinya and the others snorted, then turned their heads away, indicating that they were angry and didn't want to pay attention to us. Looking at the reactions of his wives, Yihua wanted to laugh as well. To think that I am still a child, I am already an old woman. Pour me a cup of water. Yihua said faintly. Right now, Donghuang Baiji was thinking in her heart, Ali should be very beautiful, right? When I left home she was only 8 years old and now she's already 20 years old, and also Shin-Er and the others, they're already 16 years old now, and they're also men now. I wonder if they have found a girlfriend or not. Mother is really worried about them. What Donghuang Baiji was thinking in her heart was also what Qinya was thinking in her heart. Yi Yan is still alright, boys won't be at a disadvantage, but I'm afraid that Yi Lu. If she were to meet a boy like Yi Hua who knows how to talk and is also fickle, that would be troublesome and she would definitely be at a disadvantage. In the future, when Yi Lu is by my side, I have to properly talk to her. Don't ever believe in a man's mouth. Your mother is someone who has been through it, I have experience. Very quickly Yihua came out of the house after changing into a set of clean clothes. It was still that black robe that he was wearing, which was simple yet dignified. As for the wives, they dressed up properly. After all, they were going to meet the children soon and it was time for them to dress up. Yihua, let's go. Qingye held onto Yihua's arm and said happily. If Yihua didn't remember wrongly, it had already been 4 months since Qingye last acted intimately towards him. As expected, it is still because of the children. Even Donghuang Baiji is the same. Looking at my sister-in-law and Chen Yuqing, I have already gone to the registration and have them checked, and there are no problems at all. In the end, it is still me who is blaming myself for not being able to give birth to the children. What else can I do? In the entire team, I am not the only one who is unable to conceive. In the past, Chen Yuqing was so obedient, but right now she has also been led astray by Yutong and learned to get angry at me. Wait. Yihua said faintly. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji's expression immediately changed. Yihua, are you trying to make us happy? Let me tell you, if you were to make fun of us today, we would have run away from home. If I remember correctly, I have already said this 328 times, but every single time I did not run away from home, and every single time I would return to my room and cry. Women cannot be spoiled. If I were to spoil them, they would have a problem. Waiting for someone. Right now, Yihua already had antibodies against them. No matter how unreasonable they are, I, the Supreme Overlord, will have this reaction. Waiting for someone? Donghuang Baiji asked puzzledly. However, right after Donghuang Baiji finished speaking, over 10 people instantly appeared behind Yihua. Chapter 1282. Even the guardian Renyao is here. Seems like she is interested in Yihua's children as well. When Qingye and the others saw that all of Yihua's subordinates had arrived, they all went into a daze. Donghuang Baiji felt that Yihua wanted to be ostentatious. After all, he is going to pick up his children. Subordinate pays respect to his honor and madams. All of the subordinates shouted out respectfully. Yihua lightly raised his hand. Get up. Remember one thing, we are only going there to be spectators. As for other things, there is no need for us to do anything else, understand? Subordinate understands. Thinking about it, this was the first time that all of Yihua's subordinates were going out after gathering the 7 deadly sins. However, they were not going to eliminate the enemies, they were going to see the children. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji did not say anything. Right now they only wanted to see the children, everything else could be put aside. Just now, when Li Jing heard that her grandson and granddaughter were coming back, she was extremely excited. I can finally see Yihua's children, I am so happy. In the south, today was an important day, and that day was the battle between 2 big powers. To put it nicely, it was to exchange feelings, but in reality, it was just to see which side students were more powerful. For Meridian Break Sect, they had 2 trump cards, and that was Donghuang Li and Godyi. For Shin Academy, they had 2 trump cards, and that was Yi Yan and Yi Lu. Actually, in the past few years, everyone knew that both sides had such trump cards, and they wanted to see just who was more powerful in the battle between the trump cards. However, today the battle finally happened. In the past it was just a small fight, but this time it was for real. The battle between the 2 top powers shook the entire south, and even the top experts from the north came to watch. After all, the participants from both sides were really exciting. Everyone said that these few youngsters would surpass the Dozun realm in the future, which made everyone excited. The battle this time was also organized by the chairman, and some people even said that the stingy chairman actually went all out this time, to actually make it so grand. In the south there was a valley called Maple Forest Valley. During this season, the entire valley looked as if it was bathed in gold, and it was not an exaggeration to say that there were 10 miles of maple trees. However, the venue this time was a little special. There were no buildings, not even an arena. This made many people feel that the chairman was as stingy as ever. But in fact, in order to settle this Maple Forest Valley, the chairman had already put in a lot of effort. This valley wasn't without a master, it was the territory of a supreme martial artist. Moreover, this was planted by a supreme being. If they were to fight, one could well imagine the consequences. But the chairman still gave him a lot of delicious food. Actually, even if he didn't give them any benefits, this supreme being would still give them some. That was because this supreme being also wanted to see for himself whether or not those youngsters were as powerful as the rumors said. At this moment, in Maple Forest Valley, 2 figures seemed to be chatting about something. One was a woman and the other was a man. Both of them were wearing the white robes of the Broken Meridian sect. In that case, he must be someone from the Meridian Breaking sect. The young man was a head taller than the girl, but this did not mean that the girl was short. On the contrary, the girl was very tall. Her skin was as white as snow, and if she stood under the sun she would definitely be able to reflect the light. Her nose bridge was elegant, and her cherry lips were like drops of water. Her beautiful appearance would cause men to daydream. Her pair of beautiful eyes exuded. It wasn't that she wasn't beautiful, but rather, it gave people a feeling that they were going to be cheated. However, the boy standing in front of her had a cold expression on his face. His tall and straight figure caused the girl to be dazzled. If one were to see that face again, they would immediately be intoxicated. So cold, so handsome, so character. However, in the depths of the boy's eyes, there was actually nervousness. That's right, these two were the grown-up Dong Huangli and God Yi. Even if Yi Hua and the Empress saw them, they wouldn't be able to recognize them at all. This change was simply too big. They were completely two different people compared to when they were young. Especially God Yi, his facial features were a combination of his parents, but he looked more like Dong Huang Baiji, while Dong Huangli looked more like Yi Hua. The two's appearance was off the charts. In the Broken Meridian sect, they were the class representatives of appearance. Especially God Yi, a lot of girls gave up on the God of Gods Academy just to get close to their Adonis, God Yi. This also caused the number of females in the Broken Meridian sect to double in recent years, and the ratio had already reached 3:7. Don't you think it's terrifying? The Broken Meridian sect was about to become a female academy. That gave faction master Changhan a headache. These girls were only interested in chasing after men. As long as God Yi was around, there would definitely be screams. Even if God Yi was in class, the surroundings would be filled with people. There were even some senior sisters who wanted to take advantage of the younger generation and use their status to oppress others. In an instant, thousands of girls objected to the oppression. God Yi did not belong to an individual but to all girls. However, that made God Yi depressed, especially when he was taking a bath. He had to take special precautions as girls would rush in if he was even slightly careless. God Yi had not forgotten that those dozen or so girls seemed to want to eat him up, and even took away all his clothes. If he could take away his body, that might be the case. In the end, God Yi had no choice but to tell the faction master about it. After Changhan found out, he ordered that anyone who peeked at God Yi taking a bath would be expelled from the sect. Sure enough, in order to be with their Adonis for a long time, the girls became reserved, but that was only because they did not act impulsively. If they acted impulsively, they would end up in a group fight. God Yi had two major fan groups. The fights had reached more than 30 times, and the most serious one had the children's clothes torn by the other party. It was a feast for the eyes of the boys in the sect. What they wanted to see the most was these girls fighting. Pulling hair, scratching face, and even tearing clothes. It was too exciting. However, the reason for the fights was very strange. For example, God Yi's clothes were raided. However, as long as there was a disagreement, they would fight. The strangest one was whether God Yi took a dump or not. If God Yi knew that there were people peeking at him even when he took a dump, he would want to die. However, when he thought that the mission was about to be completed, he would be able to go back and get rid of those girls. "Sis, do you think Mom and Dad will come?" God Yi said faintly, holding a yellow leaf in his hand, his face filled with longing. Dong Huangli chuckled, then reached out to pinch God Yi's face. God Yi subconsciously took a step back. Dong Huangli's face sank, and God Yi obediently took a step forward. Dong Huangli pinched God Yi's face. "Brother, don't change the topic. Have you gotten your girlfriend yet? If Dad saw that you didn't find a girlfriend, he would be so disappointed." The last time Qing Yutong and the others came over, God Yi mistakenly thought that his father had a new order to bring his girlfriend home. Now that the time was almost up, God Yi became anxious. Chapter 1283. Letting his father down was something God Yi did not want to see. Anything was fine, but he must not let his father down. Qing Yutong might not know, but this nephew of hers was completely swindling him. "I think that Lu Xian'er is actually pretty good. It's a pity that no one else is interested in you. You've been courting her for half a year, but you can't even say 10 sentences to her. Brother, how straight do you have to be? I don't expect you to kiss her, but holding her hand is good enough. You haven't inherited Dad's flirting skills at all." Dong Huangli said a whole bunch of things. Dong Huangli is simply like a demon that harms her younger brother. Truth be told, Dong Huangli was just playing along with God Yi's plan. With God Yi's personality, it would definitely be impossible for him to chase after a girl, unless it was her father's order. Right now, God Yi already has a girl that he likes, so he should just chase after her. In fact, God Yi had already started pursuing Lu Xianer half a year ago. It could not be helped since it was a task given by his father. However, even if it was a task, he had to pick someone who was presentable, so he chose Lu Xianer. Lu Xianer was also a great beauty that was on par with Dong Huangli, and her strength was also very good. The most important thing was that her senior sister was the same age as Dong Huangli, 20 years old this year. It was God Ye's first time seeing someone else. He immediately said, "Woman, be my wife." Such a tone was simply like that of a domineering CEO. Unfortunately, the other person directly said, "Sorry, I don't like little boys." With that, he turned around and left. That stunned God Yi on the spot. He was the son of a supreme paragon, and yet he was rejected today. If word of this were to reach his father's ears, what face would he have left? He would die of shame. However, this matter was immediately known by Dong Huangli, because Dong Huangli and Lu Xianer were living together. After such a thing happened, Lu Xianer naturally told her good friend Dong Huangli about it. "Your brother must be crazy." Dong Huangli's face was filled with awkwardness. "Who in the world would be flirting with a girl like you? You immediately said such words to me. If you are able to get a girl, then there would be a ghost in the world." Perhaps because he was rejected, God Ye's competitive spirit was aroused. He began to use moves that he thought were powerful. Block the door. Send flowers. If Yi Hua was here, he would definitely give a slap to his son's head. "How can I have such a stupid child like you? If you directly spoil the child, wouldn't the child be yours? Look at your mother. She was conquered by me just like that." In this day and age, as long as you have a child, anything is possible. Marriage is a given. You're really wasting your brain cells, idiot. Sister, what do you think I should do? Xian will leave the moment she sees me. I can't even say a word. I'm going home soon and I won't be able to bring my girlfriend back. God Yi felt terrified just thinking about it. Dong Huangli said earnestly, "All right, listen to big sister, there might still be a chance for you to be saved. After all, Xianer and I are in the same dormitory, and I feel that Xianer is interested in you." Interested in me? Really? God Yi was in disbelief and felt that his sister was comforting him. He felt that he was considered aloof, but Lu Xianer was even more aloof in front of him. However, she would smile in front of others while he was like a cockroach. Of course, how can you not believe big sister's words? Dong Huangli said seriously. To be honest, God Yi did not really believe that big sister was a disaster, right now, the kind that everyone was afraid of, the kind that everyone had to stay away from. Even the sect master had to speak nicely to her, if not, she would cause chaos in meridian-breaking sect. There were all sorts of reasons for her to do that. Generally speaking, she would increase her strength and then accidentally make a mistake such as blowing up a house or burning down the library. In short, she would cause all sorts of trouble. Everyone was afraid. She is truly a little demon. No, she is already a big demon now. A lot of people had witnessed Dong Huangli's destructive potential, and it simply made people want to escape. To be able to live together with someone as terrifying as Dong Huangli, that Lu Xianer was definitely not a simple person. I believe, of course I believe. God Yi said against his conscience. No matter what big sister says, I won't do it. However, the current situation is different. Without waiting for Dong Huangli to speak, God Yi suddenly asked curiously, "Big sister, how is your search going?" "Meh. Other than you, who else dares to get close to your big sister?" God Yi nodded his head subconsciously. There's nothing wrong with what God Yi said. "Then big sister, aren't you afraid that daddy will be disappointed?" God Yi asked curiously. Dong Huangli patted on God Yi's shoulder. "Little brother, I'm a woman." God Yi instantly understood. Girls have their own advantages and I can't. Daddy's expectations of me are very high. Big sister, just tell me, I will listen to you. Dong Huangli said seriously, "Stretch out your arm." God Yi stretched out his arm, expressing his curiosity. Muscles aren't that awesome. Dong Huangli looked at her brother's biceps. Too low, they aren't even inflated. God Yi didn't quite understand. Strength has nothing to do with muscles, right? Look at daddy, do you have any muscles? You probably don't know about this, but girls like guys with muscles. I heard that from Xianer. Then why would mommy like daddy? Dong Huangli's face sunk. God Yi, I am teaching you not to talk about daddy and mommy, how would I know? Oh, big sister doesn't know. You scram, I'm not teaching you anymore. God Yi hurriedly pulled her back, then said with a fawning tone, "Big sister, I was wrong." Act coquettishly for big sister. God Yi was speechless. God Yi took a deep breath, then shouted out with a tone that caused one's scalp to go numb, "Big sister, sob sob sob." Dong Huangli laughed out loud. God Yi hurriedly stopped acting like that, even he himself felt disgusted. "Stop laughing," God Yi said sternly. "When the time comes I will call someone over." Dong Huangli stabilized her emotions. "Although you don't have a lot of muscles, you still have some curves. You need to show off your muscles in front of Xiener. I believe that Xiener will look at you in a different light." After saying that, even Dong Huangli herself didn't believe it. However, there was a reason why she said that. God Yi cared too much about his face, even more so than her father. How was it possible to win a girl's heart when chasing after a girl? That was why she had to train God Yi's shamelessness just like herself. "You still need a chance," God Yi said seriously. Dong Huangli couldn't help but knock on her brother's head. "You idiot, tomorrow is the martial arts competition and Xiener will be watching as well. Just show off your muscles. Do you know that if you can't win her heart, you're dead?" God Ye's gaze instantly became firm. The martial arts competition this time was mainly to pick up girls. For the sake of the mission, God Yi had even forgotten the promise he made with his sister Yi Lu. However, at that moment, under the shade of a tree in Maple Valley, Chapter 1284. Under the maple forest, with a smile on his face, a boy was currently kissing a girl, and that girl's face was filled with shyness, seemingly not knowing what to do. The boy's height had already reached 1.8 meters. He was wearing black clothes and there was a black bamboo flute on his waist. His hair was combed back and his facial features were extremely handsome. While kissing, the boy opened his eyes and looked at the shy girl in front of him. Needless to say, this was Yi Yen who had grown up. He had simply become a playboy. However, Yi Yen did not do anything else. He only kissed the girl, and even his hands were only holding onto the girl's shoulders. "Yi Yen." Suddenly, a shout rang out, causing Yi Yen, who was currently enjoying, to go into a daze. He lightly let go of the girl, and a girl with a face filled with anger could be seen standing at the side. This girl's looks were not bad, just that right now, her face was filled with anger, and her pair of beautiful eyes looked as if they were going to spew out flames. However, Yi Yen appeared to be very calm. The folding fan on his right hand opened up, and on the folding fan, there were even big words written by himself. "Scumbag. Yi Yen. What do you mean by this?" the girl questioned angrily. "He actually kissed another girl behind my back." Yi Yen shrugged his shoulders and waved his folding fan. "Xiao Sun, don't get agitated, just let Big Brother kiss you once." "Scram. I don't want to see you anymore. You are a scumbag." The girl turned around and ran away, and her tears fell down from the sky. Yi Yen let out a light sigh and mumbled, "Such a big word, you only saw it now, seriously. Xiaoqing, let Big Brother kiss you again." I don't want, I thought, so you are a scumbag." The girl seemed to have seen through Yi Yan's true colors and immediately ran away. Yi Yan went into a daze for a moment, then laughed lightly. "Sigh, girls nowadays are just too careless, they don't understand my inner qualities, and are only attracted by my outstanding appearance. Too shallow." "How many is it now?" Suddenly an ice-cold voice rang out. Yi Yan counted with his fingers. "Counting, this is already the 312 big sisters that I have harmed. Lu, Big Brother is awesome, right?" Yi Lu's figure walked out from the side. Right now Yi Lu was 1 year younger than Yi Yan. Although she wasn't as tall as Yi Yan, she was still one of the best. Yi Lu was still as cold as usual, and this coldness was even more severe than when she was young, hence she was called Ice Goddess. If one were to say that in the Meridian Breaking sect many young ladies were there for God Yi, then in the Divine Academy most of the young men were there for Yi Lu. Reality proved that being aloof was indeed attractive. Look at the current Yi Lu. A girl really changed 18 times between womanhood and womanhood. Her beauty was not inferior to Qingya at all. In fact, she was even better than Qingya. How could a girl like her not drive men crazy? For so many years, other than harming girls, Yi Yan didn't do anything great. However, this kind of scumbag Yi Yan's face. However, there was nothing Yi Lu could do about her brother. He called himself a scumbag, but even so, there were still many young ladies who risked their lives to die for him. Situations like what had just happened happen once or twice a month. "If father sees you like this, he will definitely be angry," Yi Lu said indifferently. Yi Yan patted his little sister's shoulder. "Lu, this isn't Big Brother's fault. Look at Big Brother's fan, but there are still girls going up. I can only blame Big Brother for being too good-looking, too outstanding." Yi Lu glared at her big brother. "Prepare to be scolded by mom and dad, I am going to snitch." "Lu, we are related, Big Brother didn't do anything bad. I am just telling these girls not to be deceived by a man's appearance. In the end, Big Brother is doing a good deed. Yi Yan waved his fan and smiled, appearing very elegant. This sentence was indeed true. Yi Yan's appearance was indeed very handsome. Twisting words and forcing logic. Yi Lu snorted. Yi Yan smiled. This was just a small problem. School life was so boring he had to kill time. After this competition we are going home. Thinking about it makes me a bit excited. Yi Yan's expression changed. If there was a child who changed the most, it would be Yi Yan. Although Yi Yan looked very frivolous just now, the fierceness in his eyes was even fiercer than Yi Hua's. It was just that Yi Yan hid it well. Yi Lu naturally knew about her big brother's change and was a bit worried. Actually, she was just joking. Yi Lu used this method to suppress the demon in her heart. When Yi Yan thought about going home, his father would put him in an important position and then he would be able to show off his skills. This was the life he wanted. A Yi Yan. That is a man who will step on corpses and stand at the peak. My achievements will definitely be higher than father's. I will become the most outstanding man in the entire Yi family. And this competition will be the first step for me, Yi Yan, to make my debut. Big sister, little brother God Yi, don't disappoint me. Because when I, Yi Yan, am fierce, I am really fierce. There was a loud smack. Yi Yan held the back of his head. It hurts. What are you fantasizing about again? It is time to find a new girlfriend. Yi Yan spread his hands and laughed. Yi Lu said helplessly, can't you have a good talk? Do you have to be a scumbag? That doesn't exist. Yi Yan kept his folding fan, looked at the golden leaves, then suddenly said faintly, you are going to fight against God Yi soon. Do you have any chance of winning? When it came to serious matters, Yi Lu became serious, 50% chance. Chapter 1285. Lin Qing was quite famous outside. Since Yi Yan and Yi Lu hadn't participated in the competition, people didn't know much about them. However, Lin Qing participated every year, his ranking also gradually rising, his reputation also growing, becoming a well-known figure in deity institution's younger generation. However, Lin Qing felt like this wasn't much. Since the two siblings weren't participating, it wouldn't matter even if he got first place. Seeing Lin Qing walk over, Yi Yan wanted to roll his eyes. Even Yi Lu wanted to turn around and leave. This isn't being impolite, it's just that. I'm really already numb to it. Because the difference in strength is right here, I really don't want to dampen the enthusiasm of others. After all, I'm a child that was born at the finish line. This world is just so unfair, there's nothing I can do about it. Reincarnation is also a skill. In fact, he could even guess what Lin Qing would say next. He would definitely say it. I will definitely win against you. Definitely. I want everyone to see the strength of my forest city. Lin Qing looked at the siblings in front of him and said in a deep voice, this courtyard. It's not just the two of you. And my forest city. The siblings had to praise Lin Qing for being such a persistent man. But I can't say praising words. If I say it out, other people will think that I am looking down on them. For the two siblings, there were only two opponents this time. Only Dong Huangli and Gadyi. I don't really care about the others. I'm looking forward to your performance, Yi Lu said as he looked at Lin Qing. Lin Qing turned around beautifully. At this moment, a light breeze blew, causing Lin Qing's black robes to flutter. He had the demeanor of a hero. All right, everyone has left, Yi Lu said softly. Yi Yan shrugged his shoulders. I feel that this will show more boldness. When Lin Qing loses, he will feel more at ease. All right, let's go back. We should be able to see Big Sister and Big Brother tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow. It would be great if Mom and Dad could come too. On the other hand, Yi Yan hoped that his parents would come over. At that time, they would be able to see his elegance and would definitely praise him. However, Yi Yan felt that his father was so busy that he probably wouldn't come. Even if he didn't come, he had to go all out. After all, the news here would also reach his father's ears. Yi Lu sighed. It was for the best. The entrance of Maple Forest was a city, specially built by the organizing committee. In fact, it was just like a village. Even the inn was made of wood and was very simple. Once again, it showed how stingy the committee was. Although it was a bit stingy, but the necessary facilities still existed, and the scale was still very big. After all, the number of people that came to watch the battle was huge. Therefore, the inns were all overcrowded. Those who didn't manage to book a room could only go to the open air. Facing such a situation right now, Yi Hua's originally good mood turned into a bad mood. Letting me stay in such a place is already giving me enough face, and to actually say that I don't have a reservation. Walking on the street, the group of people attracted a lot of attention. Just that, the group seemed to be a bit curious, that's all. Because Yi Hua and the others had changed their attire, and even their appearances had changed a little. Yi Hua wanted to secretly take a look at the children's achievements. He didn't want to be discovered by the children too quickly. Both Qingye and Donghuang Baiji agreed to Donghuang Baiji's suggestion. After all, they had not seen each other for more than 10 years, and it was time for them to see their children's achievements. As for the others, they had also changed a little. Although they had not seen each other for more than 10 years, the children could still recognize these subordinates. The group of people dressed up as ordinary merchants, and all of the subordinates were guards. Yi Hua was naturally the boss, and there was no problem with this kind of disguise. However, in this place, Yi Hua's position didn't seem to be very high. After all, this was a place where experts gathered, and ordinary people were unable to be accepted. Let's find a place and have a meal, Yi Hua said faintly as he walked towards a shop at the side. Saying that it was a shop was a bit of an exaggeration. In actuality, it was just a straw shed, and the business was very good. Adding up the group, there were more than 20 people. They looked rather scary, especially Tsang Konghong. He was tall and strong, and had a fierce look on his face. Yi Hua walked into the straw shed and directly sat down. When the boss saw the group of people, he hurriedly walked over with a smile. "Boss? This place has already been booked. I am truly sorry." "Booked again? I'm here to see the children. Do you really have to make my good mood so irritable?" "Sit," Yi Hua said faintly. The group of fierce subordinates sat down in the surroundings. This was definitely a situation where they were going to cause trouble. The boss clearly felt that this group of people was here to cause trouble. However, the boss still smiled apologetically and said, "Boss, this place has truly been booked, and, boss, if you want to cause trouble, this is the worst choice." "What is there to eat?" Yi Hua asked faintly. The smile on the boss's face gradually disappeared. "These people look just like ordinary people, just that they are slightly rich. They really think that I am someone important. This place is managed by the South Organizing Committee, no matter how powerful you are. If you cause trouble today, you will be punished in the future." Threat? For so many years I didn't step out of the door, and the moment I stepped out, I was threatened. Let me have a look. Yi Hua said lightly as he took a look at the blood demon. The blood demon immediately understood. He stood up and walked towards the stove, and Luo Ho followed behind the blood demon. After all, the blood demon was just an ordinary person, and Luo Ho had to protect him. Furthermore, the blood demon's culinary skills were currently top-notch. Even if I wanted to eat it, I wouldn't be able to. Now that I have the chance, how can I let it go? What are you all doing? You all are too daring. The two waiters pointed at the blood demon and said while trembling with fear. The people who were eating at the side were a bit surprised. Are these people really not afraid, or are they just courting death? Luo Ho immediately knocked the waiters unconscious, and the blood demon took out a white coat from God knows where and put it on. Then, the blood demon started carefully choosing the ingredients. The subordinates looked at the blood demon and swallowed their saliva. Other than being able to taste the blood demon's culinary skills during Chinese New Year, they basically wouldn't be able to eat the blood demon's culinary skills. Today, whoever dares to disturb the blood demon's cooking is equivalent to becoming our enemy and courting death. The boss pointed at the crowd and shouted, "Good job all of you, just you all wait. I will go and report to the organizing committee right now and chase you all out." After finished speaking, the boss ran away. Yi Hua didn't stop the boss. I, the Supreme Overlord, planned to come here in a low-profile manner and bring the children home. It is you all who made me unhappy. Also, that whatever chairman meeting, everything needs to be booked. Why didn't you just give me a phone number to book? It is obvious that you all are looking down on me. This is making me feel very troubled. Yi Hua, go and fetch the children. Don't cause too much trouble, Qingye said in a low voice. She also didn't want other factors to appear during the reunion. Chapter 1286. Yi Hua remained silent. Whether or not this matter would blow up would depend on the other party's attitude. Don't you know that the people sitting around me are all people who kill without batting an eye? They can raze this place to the ground in a matter of minutes. Moreover, these subordinates had not seen blood for a long time. Blood Demon's cooking speed was very fast. Even if it was the most ordinary ingredients, Blood Demon would still be able to cook at the fastest speed possible. After all, his honor was hungry. Under the premise of ensuring the speed, his honor also had to ensure the quality. These were the most important things. I can't be too careless. Very soon, a fragrant smell wafted out, and Yi Hua felt much more comfortable. However, just now, Yi Hua had also heard that the people at the table beside him were discussing about the children. Hearing those people praising the children, Yi Hua was rather happy. However, the good situation didn't last long, and he immediately started to ridicule them. This caused the corners of Yi Hua and the others' mouths to twitch slightly. Did you guys know? That Bloodline Break Sect's Dong Huangli is a destruction king. When the people from Bloodline Break Sect saw Dong Huangli, it was as if they had seen a ghost. What does this count as? Deity Institutions Yi Yen, that is but a top-level scum. I heard that he already harmed over 1,000 older sisters, even causing people to lose their lives. He really is a super scumbag. That Yi Lu is still okay. I heard that Pulse Break Sect's God Yi is pursuing a girl. I wonder if it's true. Hearing those words, Dong Huang Baiji immediately went into a daze. My son is actually chasing after a girl? Is God Yi hitting on a girl? How was this possible? Even Yi Hua was quite shocked after hearing that. With God Yi's personality, would he take the initiative? That girl must be very outstanding. However, Qin Ye's expression was a bit bad because just a moment ago she heard that her son was actually harming a big sister. And it had even reached a terrifying 4 digits. He even killed someone. This little bastard is actually even more powerful than his father. Your father has harmed 4 people and you have harmed 4 people. You are much more powerful than your father. However, right when Yi Hua was thinking this Yen is actually so fierce. Not bad, not bad. As my children, the more the better. When the time comes, I will be able to sow the seeds and let my bloodline envelop the entire world. I'm so mad. It's all your fault, Yenner has been led astray. Qin Ye said angrily, pushing all of the blame onto Yi Hua. Yi Hua said disapprovingly, he's a man after all, what's wrong with finding a few women? Is there a problem? Qin Ye, is this how you teach your child? Qin Ye said while panting with rage. The child is completely being led astray by you. Qin Yutong and Chen Yuqing were thinking, if I have a child, I definitely can't let Yi Hua teach the child is too terrifying. Is there anything wrong with what I have taught you? Yi Hua said faintly, not feeling that there was anything wrong with what he had taught. Qin Ye didn't want to argue with Yi Hua about this, moreover they were outside right now, and there were still her subordinates around. Yi Hua had an unhappy look on his face. The child is already so big and he already has his own thoughts. What are you blindly worrying about him for? You are being soft-hearted. Dong Huang Baiji mumbled, this child God Yi actually took the initiative to chase after a girl. I really want to see just how outstanding that girl is. Since Shinra has taken a liking to that girl, she can't be that bad. Yi Hua said faintly. After going through Yi's matter, Yi Hua had already tossed aside the idea that the two of them were well matched in terms of social status. As long as the two of them liked each other, it would be fine. Some things can only be understood after experiencing it. Now that I think about it, I still feel a bit remorseful. I really can't wait anymore. Dong Huang Baiji seemed to be very excited. I actually have a daughter-in-law, my god. When the time comes, even my grandson is born and I am going to be a grandmother, haha. While Dong Huang Baiji was happy, Qin Ye was depressed. My son is actually a scumbag. He is the same as his father, a scumbag. Suddenly, more than 10 people came to the outside of the straw shed, and the boss was among them. The person leading the group was a man. Qin Yutong looked at the man and immediately recognized him. Isn't this man? 12 years ago. I summoned Daji and in the end Daji acknowledged me as her brother-in-law. It's precisely this man, Feng Yun. This man was precisely Feng Yun who had swallowed his anger and humiliation for many years. After so many years had passed, there was a very deep pit in Feng Yun's heart, and that pit was that the first orange card that he had nurtured actually acknowledged someone else as his master. Damn it. But now, the little wimp that he had summoned back then had already become an orange card, and furthermore, he was standing right beside me, looking at the man in front of me, and the woman beside him. Why do I feel that this scene is so familiar? Feng Yun did not recognize Yi Hua and the others. After all, Yi Hua's appearance had changed, but his temperament did not change. This was what made Feng Yun think back to that time. This scene is so familiar. Back then we also sat like this. However, today is still the same, but today, I'm already different from the past. Look at the people beside me. 1 orange card, 3 purple cards, and 8 top-notch blue cards. With this kind of lineup, I'm already able to sweep away everyone. Yi Hua looked at Feng Yun who was walking in, and he completely had no impression of Feng Yun at all. Only Qing Yutong recognized Feng Yun. Back then she also found out from the system that this man had a system. However, looking at Qing Yutong now, this man seems to have turned over a new leaf, and the people beside him are actually all card sets. Feng Yun no longer had to worry about the situation of the cards betraying him, because these cards were all raised by him since young, and the feelings he had for them were very strong. Lord Feng. It's this man. He didn't follow the rules and insisted on sitting here. Lord Feng, I hope that you can uphold justice for this lowly one. Feng Yun looked at Yi Hua and the others, then said gravely, who are you all? To actually not follow the rules? Do you all know what the consequences are? Yi Hua didn't want to pay attention to them and quietly waited for the food that the blood demon made. This kind of small matter, it is fine if I just let my subordinates settle it. If not, why would the Supreme Overlord want subordinates? If the boss does everything, then what is the point of having subordinates? Seeing that these people were actually ignoring him, Feng Yun's expression immediately changed. Speak. If not, die. Feng Yun shouted out angrily. It has been a long time since someone dared to treat me like this. Right now, Qing Yutong was currently asking her system. Hey, can these cards be modified a bit? Qing Yutong asked curiously. Master, your request is simply too simple. Qing Yutong didn't expect that her system would be so awesome. After all, so many years had passed, and this system had already become the commanding point of the system world. That kind of thing is simply too easy. That's fine, these people should be able to modify the cards, right? Satisfy Master's wish. Haha, then this is a bit interesting. I didn't expect that I would still be able to meet him. I really feel sad for him. This kind of person's probability is really low. Chapter 1287. Feng Yun was still unaware of the situation, and even the system was still silent, completely unaware of the situation. Speak. You audacious people actually dared to cause trouble here. You're simply too full of yourself. Damn it. At this time, Feng Yun shifted the anger of the past to the present, and the anger in his heart burned to the peak. The subordinates that were sitting at the side all stood up and looked at Feng Yun. Although they did not emit any pressure, Feng Yun immediately felt that his heart was about to split open, even if the air was filled with the smell of blood. Feng Yun shook his head. What was wrong with him? He was actually frightened by the other party's aura. They were clearly just ordinary people, yet they were able to give off such a terrifying aura. Seemingly feeling that he had lost face, Feng Yun's complexion didn't look too good. He made up his mind to kill these people. Attack! Feng Yun shouted coldly. It was as if Feng Yun could already see the people in front of him wailing in pain, blood flowing all over the ground, and then begging for mercy, asking him to forgive their arrogance. At this moment, Blood Demon came over with the first dish and said respectfully, Boss, the dish is ready. Yi Hua looked at the stir-fried meat in front of him, and his appetite came. He picked up the chopsticks and took a bite. The texture was still as good as before. When Feng Yun saw that these people actually still have the mood to discuss stir-fried meat, Feng Yun was simply about to explode from anger. What are you waiting for? Do it. Feng Yun had already lost his usual demeanor as he shouted at his subordinate. There's no way to evoke the hatred in my heart. However, the person behind Feng Yun stood in the same place, his expression a little slack as if he had lost his mind. Feng Yun turned around to look at his subordinates, his angry eyes mixed with confusion. What had happened to them? Do it. Have you all lost your minds? Feng Yun shouted in a deep voice. The people who were eating at the side were also puzzled. This is the famous Lord Feng of the organizing committee, and I heard that all of his subordinates are powerful experts. Why is it now? Qing Yutong didn't expect that the current system would actually be so powerful, to actually be able to retrieve the data of the characters that other people summoned out. That was way too awesome. What are you doing? Feng Yun angrily shouted. He felt his face burning. These obedient subordinates had actually rebelled one by one. A purple card at the side raised its hand and slapped Feng Yun, causing him to be dumbfounded. The slap was very loud, but it was not very powerful. This sudden situation caused everyone in the surroundings to be stupefied. What's going on? Lord Feng's subordinate actually slapped Lord Feng. This slap sounds very resounding. An orange card beside him suddenly gave him a slap. The orange card's strength was above Feng Yun's. This slap caused Feng Yun's teeth to fall out. Feng Yun covered his face and looked at his orange card. This was the orange card that had been with him for 12 years. Today it actually rebelled. How could this be? What was wrong with them? Did they take the wrong medicine? Just as Feng Yun was feeling puzzled, the blue card actually surged forward and pushed the dumbfounded Feng Yun to the ground. Then it abused him to its heart's content. The orange card and purple card would occasionally give him a few kicks from the side. It seemed to be very exciting. Feng Yun protected his face and shouted out loudly in his heart, "Crashing, currently rebooting. Crashing, currently rebooting. Crashing, currently rebooting." Hearing this cold and despairing voice, Feng Yun's heart turned cold. Why did it become like this? At this time, Feng Yun looked at Yi Hua from the corner of his eyes and suddenly discovered that the corner of Yi Hua's mouth was slightly curved. This curve made Feng Yun recall that back then, that man's mouth also had this kind of curve. Damn it! Feng Yun shouted out angrily and sent the blue card beside him flying. His entire body turned into a sharp sword and directly attacked towards Yi Hua, who was currently eating. A fierce aura engulfed the entire Maple Forest Valley. This is actually the aura of a Do Di, so powerful. Facing such a powerful Do Di, Yi Hua continued to eat his stir-fried meat. A figure suddenly blocked in front of Yi Hua. At the same time, the figure erupted with the strength of a Do Zun. Just that aura alone was enough to send Feng Yun flying. After all, there was a difference of one level. Yi Hua looked towards Qing Yutong. Qing Yutong laughed tenderly. "Brother-in-law is still so smart, to be able to see through me in an instant. Yutong, it's almost done." Qingya said in a low voice. This person is quite pitiful. It wasn't easy for him to summon an orange card, but he ended up acknowledging Yi Hua. From the looks of it now, he seems to be doing quite well, and yet he was messed with by Qing Yutong again. Sigh, Yi Hua couldn't help but say, "He threatened to kill us. I feel that what Yutong did is still too light." Hearing that, Qingya didn't say anything. "Recently, I have been quarreling with him frequently this year. Could this be the legendary 7-year itch? However, this 7-year itch seems to have passed already. Forget it, I am taking care of my child today. I don't want to quarrel with you," Qingya said in a low voice. "Could it be that my menopause is coming? That's why my temper is a bit more violent? Do you think that I want to quarrel with you?" Yi Hua said coldly. "Umph." In actuality, Qingya felt that it was all Yi Hua's fault that Yen'er turned into such a scumbag. Chapter 1288. At this moment, Feng Yun was stunned. Although his entire body was in pain, he still rubbed his eyes. "System? System? Are you still there?" Feng Yun asked blankly. However, there was no longer any response in his mind. Feng Yun's pupils gradually became hollow. All of his strength came from the system. At this moment, countless Duki poured out from his body. This was a very huge Duki and everyone could feel it, causing them to be very astonished. Why did Lord Feng become like this? He clearly brought people over, but the other party just stood up, and then his subordinates started to rebel. Furthermore, he even punched and kicked Lord Feng, and afterward he mysteriously disappeared. Just what is going on? Ha, ha ha ha. Feng Yun, who couldn't take the blow, suddenly let out a crazy laughter. This kind of laughter made people's hair stand on end, because this was a laughter that carried despair. The crazy Feng Yun laughed continuously and then rushed out. His figure gradually disappeared, and that laughter of despair could still be heard. Qingya looked at her sister. Qing Yutong spread out her hands. "I didn't know that this would happen either. So, I have to ask my system. Just what is going on? Why did they all disappear?" "Master, the other party's system seems to have been threatened by my underling, so they chose to remove the binding." Qing Yutong was shocked. "You still have underlings?" "That's right, Master. In any case, I am also the big boss of the system world now." Qing Yutong, "No wonder I was told to hug brother-in-law's thigh from the start, so he already had such a plan. This is truly impressive." The boss of the shop swallowed his saliva and secretly took a glance at Yi Hua. "I feel that these people are not that easy to mess with. Look at Lord Feng, he is already scared to the point of going crazy. Who would dare to mess with him anymore? The organizing committee probably wouldn't dare to come after receiving such news. The organizing committee is not only stingy, they also bully the weak and fear the strong. They are a typical fence-sitter series." Yi Hua also didn't want to make a big deal out of this. After all, he came to pick up the children, so he should keep a low profile. The place that the children lived in was much higher class. After all, they were the trump cards of both parties. At the same time, they also felt a wave of Do-Chi dispersing, expressing that they were very curious. Although they were curious, the children didn't take it to heart. They were currently preparing for tomorrow's battle. However, the current God Yi was not in the mood at all. Daddy's order was like a mountain, pressing down on him so much that he could not breathe. If it was to fight and kill, it would still be fine. But to ask me to chase after a girl, it is simply too difficult. God Yi was thinking if he should change his target. With that thought in mind, God Yi wanted to slap himself. How could he have such a thought? He had to know when to retreat. This is wrong. Hello, senior brother. Hello, senior brother. Hello, senior brother. God Yi walked in the Broken Pulse Sect's collective inn. All the disciples there were there to participate in the battle. There was also a garden in the inn, so God Yi decided to try his luck. God Ye's luck was pretty good. He quickly discovered Lu Xiener's whereabouts, but God Ye's expression turned a little sour. That was because Lu Xiener was talking to a disciple. God Yi saw that the disciple's robe was bulging, so he must be muscular. Sure enough, Lu Xiener liked muscular and dazed men. Look at him, he smiles when talking to others, but he keeps a straight face when talking to me. You're making me, God Yi, very unhappy. If Yi Yen were to teach God Ye's younger brother how to flirt with girls, perhaps God Yi would be able to get rid of singlehood. God Yi walked toward Lu Xiener with a cold expression. Greetings, senior brother. The disciple standing in front of Lu Xiener greeted respectfully. Although he was older than God Ye's backer was supreme everlasting hatred. In the academy, all disciples had to call him senior brother. Even some teachers had to be respectful. His backer was very powerful. However, Lu Xiener did not like this kind of playboy. He was arrogant just because he was handsome and had a strong backer. Others might like you, God Yi, but I, Lu Xiener, don't care. I have something to say to her, God Yi said coldly. Go ahead, senior brother. The disciple smiled apologetically. He felt that it was better to talk less to Lu Xiener in the future to avoid provoking God Yi. Lu Xiener glared at God Yi and asked coldly, God Yi, what do you want? Be my woman. Impossible. Why? God Yi questioned. If Yi Yen were there and saw the situation, he would definitely knock his younger brother's head. If you flirt like this, you'll never get a wife in this life. Don't you know that there are ways to flirt? Because I don't like you. Why don't you like me? Lu Xiener was speechless. God Yi, I'm telling you, I, Lu Xiener, will never be your woman. Even if all the men in this world die, I, Lu Xiener, will never look for you. God Yi did not panic after hearing that. It seemed like his mother had said something like that in the past, but it was only a few days ago. How sweet. Xiener, be my woman. God Yi suddenly reached out and grabbed Lu Xiener's delicate hand. It was his first time touching a girl's hand. God Yi felt good. It was soft, much better than his sister's hands. Lu Xiener did not expect God Yi to make such a frivolous move. She immediately slapped him. God Yi's strength was already very high. If he was given some time, he would definitely be on par with the 7 deadly sins. He grabbed Lu Xiener's wrist and said in a deep voice, You want to hit me? That's right, you pervert. I'm a pervert. God Yi was instantly upset. Since when am I a pervert? If you're not a pervert, then what are you? God Yi was a little angry. I've been chasing you for so long, yet you don't give me any face at all. You even call me a pervert. Then I'll do what a pervert should do. Looking at those delicate red lips, God Yi kissed her in front of everyone's eyes. Lu Xiener's eyes bulged and stared at God Yi. Meanwhile, God Yi also looked at Lu Xiener's charming eyes. Although the two of them were kissing and everyone else had their eyes closed, they were looking at each other. It was as if it was not a kiss but mainly a look at each other. It was God Yi's first time feeling a kiss. Soft lips with a hint of sweetness. So this is how kissing feels. Not bad, not bad. No wonder Daddy likes to kiss Mommy so much. However, God Yi frowned slightly after a while. A bloody taste spread in his mouth. Pervert. Lu Xiener shouted softly, then ran away while covering her face. God Yi wiped his lips. This woman actually bit me. I'm starting to like her a little. Men just like those that they can't get. Those that are easy to get, they won't care. God Yi glanced at the surrounding disciples. The disciples who were watching the commotion immediately turned around, indicating that they did not see anything. Chapter 1289. God Yi kept a straight face and walked toward his room. He would let Lu Xiener have a good look at his muscles tomorrow. On the other side, Yi Hua didn't plan to stay at any inn. He might as well choose a place within the maple forest and camp there. Not to mention, this place was very suitable for couples to date. It was just that the main body had already passed that stage and had even developed to the stage of quarreling. I, the Supreme Overlord, don't have the mood to coax them anymore. Just let them do whatever they want. Lying on the comfortable recliner, Yi Hua smoked a cigarette. His subordinates were barbecuing in the back. They had eaten the sumptuous meal made by the Blood Demon for lunch, but they were still not satisfied. They still wanted the Blood Demon to barbecue more food. Right now, Yi Hua was currently thinking about what he should do after bringing the children back. Should he keep the children by his side, or continue to let them roam the world? If Donghuang Baiji were to continue adventuring outside, Qinya and Donghuang Baiji would most likely be unwilling to do so. However, Yi Hua thought in his heart, I reckon that if the children were to stay at home for a period of time, the mother wouldn't be able to take it anymore. As the saying goes, when the children are not around, I miss them. When the children are around, I want them to go out. Yi Hua let out a light breath, then picked up the wine cup at the side and took a sip. Right now, I, the Supreme Overlord, can really go and become a monk. If it wasn't for them needing me, I, the Supreme Overlord, wouldn't have taken the initiative. What was going on? Where did all the passion from back then go? I, the Supreme Overlord, can't be sick, right? Just thinking about it makes me a little scared. Could it be that there's something wrong with my mind? Do I need to see a therapist? It would be fine as long as he didn't go to the andrology department. Lowering his head to take a look, Yi Hua let out a breath. Your Honor, the chicken wings that you wanted are ready. Wei Chang walked over with the chicken wings. Yi Hua took over the chicken wing and turned his head around to take a look. In the past, it was always them who came to deliver things to me, but right now, it was Wei Chang who came to deliver things to me. From this, it could be seen just how inflated these women are. Forget it, I, the Supreme Overlord, do not have the mood to care about this anymore. Just let them do whatever they want. After eating the chicken wing, Yi Hua's mood became a lot better. Standing up, Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up, then walked towards the darkness. Not long after, Yi Hua saw a figure. Ren Yao, what are you standing here for? Ren Yao giggled and even shook her body. Yi Hua said faintly, remember to wash your hands. Understood, Your Honor. Ren Yao eagerly ran back. As for washing my hands, that will depend on my mood. Yi Hua heard a plop sound and turned his head around to take a look. Ren Yao had actually fallen onto the ground and was twitching. Due to Ren Yao's usual behavior, it was very possible that she was just fooling around. Thus, Yi Hua didn't pay attention to her. However, after walking a few steps, Yi Hua stopped, turned around and walked towards Ren Yao. What happened? Yi Hua asked gravely as he flipped Ren Yao's body over. Ren Yao's face was a bit pale, and even her lips were trembling. Yi Hua stretched out his palm and emitted out a green halo of light that enveloped Ren Yao within. The green light naturally attracted the attention of the subordinates and all of them ran over. Your Honor, what's wrong? Zhu Tian asked respectfully. Yi Hua shook his head and didn't say anything as he looked at Ren Yao, who was acting strangely. For so many years, Ren Yao did not have any abnormal behavior. Yi Hua feels that Ren Yao's abnormal behavior is most likely because of the guardian. Gradually, Ren Yao calmed down. However, her face looked as if she had lost too much blood. Yi Hua waited silently, and his subordinates didn't dare to say anything. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, Ren Yao opened her eyes, and what entered her eyes were a lot of heads. She was so scared that she crossed her arms around her chest. You all? Don't, what are you thinking about? Yi Hua shouted coldly and Ren Yao immediately stood up. Ren Yao looked as if she was suffering from hypoglycemia and was on the verge of collapsing. Yi Hua asked again, what happened just now? Ren Yao went into a daze. Just now? What happened to me? Nothing much, I just feel a bit dizzy, that's all. Ren Yao rubbed her head. I really feel a bit dizzy and I don't remember anything that happened just now. You don't remember anything? Yi Hua asked. Ren Yao shook her head, expressing that she really doesn't remember. Yi Hua let out a breath, then continued walking towards the darkness while smoking his cigarette. The faint sparks gradually disappeared. I feel that His Honor is a bit strange. Lai Gu suddenly said. All of the subordinates nodded their heads. In recent years, His Honor is indeed a bit strange, he doesn't seem to be very happy. Could it be that it is because of His Honor's wife? All of the subordinates shifted their gaze towards the four madams. Qinya and the others pursed their lips. What does this have to do with us? His Honor couldn't have an endocrine disorder, right? Ching Su said faintly. As a medical researcher, Ching Su raised his own opinion. Pig liver macaque rubbed onto his chin. If that is really the case, is there any way to treat it? Ching Su said in a deadpan manner. That would definitely require yin and yang to be balanced. I will have to trouble the four madams. Qinya and the others' faces turned red, then turned around and left the scene. However, in the darkness, Yihua, who was hiding behind a tree, silently nodded his head. Not bad, not bad. This Ching Su and Pig Liver Macaque are working together very well. Whether or not I can fly tonight, I will be able to find out in a while. The morning of Maple Forest Valley was a bit cold, but as the sun shone down, it gave off a kind of warmth. Yihua twisted his neck, indicating that he felt comfortable. This trick seems to be not bad, but I can't use it too often. I have to change to another trick. If Qinya were to answer, "What is the longest road that you have walked on?" then Qinya would definitely say, "The longest road that I have walked on," and that is Yihua's trick. Today was the first day of the competition. Yihua woke up very early and was very excited. After all, he was going to be able to see the children very soon. From this point, it could be seen that Yihua's love towards the children was no less than Qinya and the others, just that he didn't show it. Men have different ways of expressing themselves. However, regarding Rin Yao's abnormality last night, Yihua kept it in his heart. I feel that this year won't be that peaceful anymore. Perhaps those guardians are starting to take action. However, right now the children are still the most important. After so many years, I am really looking forward to seeing how the children have grown up. The martial arts competition venue this time is very environmentally friendly. That is, in the air, the martial arts competition venue can be said to be even more environmentally friendly, and the only thing that can be seen is the air. The venue is simply stingy to the extreme. Not using the stage, the seats are just air. Booing sounds could be heard from the scene. This organizing committee is really trash. Don't they even have this bit of money? Although we are going to be sitting in the air, from this angle, we are still able to admire the entire Maple Forest Valley. Yihua feels that this arrangement is not bad. Right now we just have to wait for the children to appear. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji were very nervous, and they were even tightly holding on to Yihua's hands. We have been separated for 12 years. This is not just 12 days. The longing for their mother gushed out like a flood, and even Qinya and Donghuang Baiji felt that. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.